My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. All right, it is 11:32 a.m. and the images you'll see reflect the federal stalking pursuant to, again, trying to protect a rapist, a pedophile, a sex offender. This is a psychopath, Jason Isaac Fields, who has conspired my murder with my mother, gang stalking me for years, and also defaming my character in order to steal a lot of money and property from me. This is someone who is still targeting and is doing so through the abuse of law enforcement, and that is, again, relevant to the documentation of the obvious gang stalkers, the city of Ontario, who have been exposed worldwide, and they are serving for the federal imprisonment of Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields. Michael GERKEN is the one monitoring my vagina in particular, while demons and a fire truck are engaging in the elements of monitoring, crossing path while the fake sun is directly over me, and that's letting you know that a whole hotel full of sex offenders are also monitoring my vagina, while that fake sun is in a different position than it was yesterday at the same time, where EVERHOME suites, those sex offenders wearing hard hats, were gang stalking as the fake sun was on that side of the street where I remain. The entity engaged in at 12 stalking by helicopter, covering up that fake sun. Remember, at 11:30, I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library, where I enter at 10. The fake sun doesn't move. That's why I walk out in the middle of the afternoon when I'm comparing to what's happening on the Oceanside Freeway, where the entity is gang stalking in 2024 on the same day at the same time. This is the entity that is stalking using a fire truck, while they are speaking of checkout time of the hotel while they're monitoring the entire team. These are sex offenders. Okay? Michael GERKEN's engaged in what is monitoring my vagina while engaging in criminal summoning under the fake sun while I'm in a private space, which is a hotel. Everybody working at that hotel is stalking while I'm in the shower nude. Demons pushing the carts. That's heard inside of the shower with the water running, while I'm in the depths of that hotel room. That's called amplification of a sex offender that's obsessed with your vagina. You have homosexuals. Hi. I checked out of the room. You wanted me out, right? Yeah. Okay, so 325 is empty now, okay? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, she's engaging in, this is, again, another female that is engaged in what is homosexual violence, okay? Somebody that wants to be obsessed with my vagina, monitoring it, pacing like a psychopath under the fake sun over me, or all of a city. That is a statewide sex offense that's underway, keeping me under surveillance and keeping the status of my vagina in that shower under surveillance, and then using a whole fire truck. That's speaking to the time and resources utilized in criminal surveillance. Michael GERKEN is a sex offender, and he's interested in what is gang stalking me on behalf of demons like Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, whom the entity sought to remove my podcast documentation off of YouTube, removing it from the RSS feed, which is federal stalking, that's monitoring. I didn't make it private. I did not remove it, but it is going right back up. And this is documentation as to why they're going to prison, while they're also monitoring with the demons that are inside of the office. It's currently 11:35 a.m. Good morning. I'm going to give you the key. Yeah. I spoke to you on the phone, or is that not you?
Come in.
Oh, someone's coming in. Okay. Impossible light activity. This is a pink Tesla. License plate 8TZW293. Now, what I'm documenting last night with the white Range Rover and the Ontario International Airport, gang stalking behind the EVERHOME Suites Hotel, where they are flying what is north of where the airport is, but it's as absurd when they're hovering over Euclid Avenue and E Street at the Starbucks. But this is what the entity is doing. At the same time, you're looking at the demonic synchronicity with regard to targeting me where I'm at and targeting with light. This is what's happening while the fake sun is over me in the parking lot. And a bunch of sex offenders, including Michael GERKEN, a whole fire department. Okay? Demons that don't take care of themselves, obsessed with me, stalking me. And that's the same thing with the police department, with the fire department. Another rusty, crusty, dusty with a paper plate, CX65P57, a paper plate on a gray Dodge, okay? Very disheveled, obviously mentally ill. These are the demon-possessed that are gang stalking another woman, obsessed with my vagina, using feckless witchcraft with demons like Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, who are equally obsessed, gang stalking with a gang of demons that use whole fire departments, stalking with trash like that. But what you need to understand is that the fire department are full of demons that are trash as well. Okay, they're in positions where they are in positions of authority, and all they're doing is engaging in what is surveillance, and that's what I'm exposing. And this is what is pathetic, and this is also the evidence that they try to keep off the internet. And now the entity wanted me to check out while they're monitoring, and I'm waiting in the office. Is there anything wrong? Do you know who's working at the office? Oh, okay. This is the same demon that was monitoring pushing the cart, and that cart's heard while I'm in the shower. The shower water running in the depths of the hotel room. The lights, when you turn the lights on, you know, it turns on that ventilation, all that noise, and yet it's creating rumbling noise in the depths of the shower. That's speaking to the sex offense committed in concert with the Ontario Fire Department, who was crossing paths, creating light activity, monitoring while the fake sun is right over the top of my head at 1841 East G Street. You'll see that uploaded to the images in the Google Drive. It's 11:37 a.m. I'm sorry? Okay, thank you. The entity is engaging in this while monitoring, and this is simultaneous. This is relevant to the federal RICO case. This is coming in, purchasing a cup of coffee from Starbucks in the engineer light under the fake sun, while the entity is pacing about in the sky space, stalking in planes, monitoring on behalf of the government that's remaining in relevant position, while a whole bunch of demons, a city full of rusty crusties, are stalking. They're engaging in witchcraft. This is failed witchcraft. It's a failed sacrifice, and I'm exposing the reality of how people are murdered, how people are kidnapped by a government that practices the satanic targeting system, and the ways in which you can be subject to it. You can have any demon, any rusty crusty like Tracy Banks, a high school graduate who just has sex with everyone, whoever she thinks that she can recruit, somebody that has no standards, somebody that is clearly mentally disturbed, like her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, who was engaged in a long-term sexual relationship with her and then deciding to target me because they both think that their sexual activity is going to result in what is generation of what is wealth that belongs to me, and they're going to steal it somehow through some hocus pocus. These are the mentally ill demons who are gang stalking, okay? Putting it in plain terms like that. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, I've been waiting because I was checking out.
325.
Yeah, good job. 325, and I think I already
you
gave.
good, huh?
Yeah, that's all I need. Can I get something like anything, a receipt or guess? Yeah. How are you doing today, Harry?
Yes, busy man. That's, you want the receipt, right?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Are there any other RAMADA by WYNDHAMs out here in Ontario? You're the only one?
Ontario, no Upland, no. Here is 20 mile, no. All the way, maybe the West Covina.
West Covina?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's your name.
Yes.
Just confirm 325 and
Just want you to
this when you, whatever you pay this amount, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
And the deposit, where's that?
Deposit automatic, they gone.
Automatic.
Yeah.
What is it? Automatic what?
Automatic, they return back your account.
Oh, return, is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Return to your account?
Yeah.
Okay, so that
But
happens.
sometimes we don't charge it, but we hold it. You know?
Yeah, I understand.
When
so
I
checkout,
something happening, then they charge.
Oh no, the one's fine.
No
so
smoking, no damages.
yeah, it's fine. So the
Let me figure out your deposit. We charge it or not?
Okay.
They don't charge it.
No, I saw. It would have told me if you charged it. I was just thinking when you're gonna release it upon my checkout right now, right? Alrighty, then that's fine. So this is my receipt for checking out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, here. You see the receipt?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good day, Harry.
You-
All right. What time is it? 11:40. Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a good day, ma'am.
You too. Thank you. There's a ice machine somewhere.
Second floor.
Oh.
Yeah. You see the elevator?
Elevator? Okay.
Next to the.
All right. Thank you. All right. The entity is engaging in the pattern of maintaining peculiarized light. This is what merchants, City of Ontario, merchants was doing yesterday. You'll see the fake sun over me, and you'll see a demon sitting in the middle of the road. The fake sun is, again, the hallmark of what is surveillance. That's committed by the public entity. License 9GXD553 is gang stalking. These are demons who are pacing. This is a ritual. All right, this is satanic, and it's surveillance by the government. 6E34401, a pot-bellied demon monitoring my vagina. This is a sex offense committed by a public entity. You're going to prosecute. Sex offenders fill the state of California. MSLYNS0, a white BMW, a gang stalking demon, a sex offender, and a homosexual one. Okay, women monitoring my vagina, women obsessed with my vagina, women stalking me in the middle of the night, women monitoring me in my hotel room, women obsessed with what it is that I'm thinking about doing, where I'm going, how I'm doing it, what I look like as I do it. They're engaged in this P.O.C. together. This is the entity that's hovering like they're taking off above EVERHOME Suites. That's the obvious stalking, flying toward the airport, by the way. That's UPS. This is what Southwest Airlines was doing. This is the chicanery. That's the obvious stalking combined with the peculiarized light. And this is the fake sun that's over me at 1841 East G Street. You're not doing anything other than stalking, and this is Alan D. Wapner. He is communicating to the federal government that he has no intention to be anything other than a domestic terrorist who is worthy of a federal prosecution for the conspiracy to murder me. Stalking me and keeping me under surveillance using commercial planes is the most absurdly demented means and expensive means of what is statewide surveillance. License plate 7HXL020. These are demons that are pacing, and the fake sun's on this side of the street and not on the opposite side of the street where I remained yesterday, where the entity was gang stalking. Okay, and remember where it's at right now. The entity is engaging in what is keeping the fake sun. What is at the Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue. That's literally on the opposite side of the street over here. This is the 10 freeway where these geniuses just engaged in what is rising behind what is Sheraton. They just rose up over Vineyard. This is stalking with planes.
stalking with commercial planes, and this is what they're doing over the Ontario Town Square. Remember, when I'm at the Ontario Town Square, I'm not at the Sheraton, the Ramada, okay? When I'm at the Open Family Community Library, I'm not at the Ramada by Wyndham. And when I'm certainly in the Hesperia at the Holiday Inn, which is where I remain on this day in 2024, I'm certainly not at 1841 East G Street, the Ramada by Wyndham, where the entity is concentrating plane activity, right here. Concentrating plane activity, doing so in a manner that is not published on the Ontario International website, hunkering down beneath that building. That's what you see, because they know they were captured on video, and these are demons who are stalking. Understand that this is what is going into 841ZY's criminal monitoring of my vagina. Because Alan D. Wapner is engaged in what is a sex offense using commercial planes. The sex offense of gang stalking is committed using commercial planes. You're going to look at the frequency, you're going to look at the location, you're going to look at the specific environment, and this is the removal of a domestic terrorist that is Alan D. Wapner and Paul Leon, because this is the same criminal system that corrupt companies like FedEx Sharon, gang stalking at the Holiday Inn where I'm at in Hesperia on this day in 2024. The fake sun is remaining over my head, not in a natural environment, however. The entity, and FedEx just represents how the entity is gang stalking as corrupt businesses. The entity is doing this on behalf of Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, who are not going to walk away with any more of my money, and they're going to federal prison for the property that they already stole, and they stole it with the government that is stalking me in the city of Ontario as a statewide pattern of conduct where we are all under surveillance as the imbeciles of the city of Ontario stalking in commercial planes, not published on the Ontario International website, because there's no arrival or departures when you are rising up over the 10 freeway over Vineyard Avenue flying toward the airport. That's not a landing. When you're landing, you're coming down in elevation. The entity is engaging what is rising up, like they're rising up, flying over, taking off behind the Sheraton. These are the imbeciles that are gang stalking, and that's what they're doing at every other venue in Ontario, gang stalking. All right, this is the third one. This is P.O.C. This is the imbecilic conduct of stalking by commercial planes. And the entity is doing so where the fake sun remains. This is what's happening at the OVITT Family Community Library, and the city of Ontario is going to be prosecuted. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. All right, and this is, again, the rusty, crusty, dusty demons that are stalking me, monitoring my vagina, doing so in a clearly identified environment. This is surveillance. That's a powerful light on the ground, not sunlight. And that's called crossing path, DE68G36, that's a paper plate. And the entity does engage in things such as putting paper plates on their vehicles as a means of obstruction of justice. The entity is, the federal government is going to be engaged in what is the due diligence of the entity that is acting with a pattern of conduct to intending to obstruct justice. That's P.O.C. None of that flight conduct is published, and the Alan D. Wapner has maintained a documented pattern of stalking me by commercial planes that are not published on the Ontario International website with regards to the arrivals and departures, where the gang stalking airlines, every single last one of them, are engaging in this criminal pattern of conduct. All right, it is currently, where you're seeing this fake sun over me, it's 11:46 a.m., and this is distinct from what was happening on the opposite side of the street, where that which is not the sun is stalking very specifically as I move. And that's why FedEx is engaging in what is called crossing of path monitoring, engaging in federal stalking under Title 18, and so is a demon in a parking lot. This is P.O.C. All right? Remember, demons don't have races. All right, but third parties and state actors do. They have statuses with regard to citizenship. They have what are federal charges that they're going to prosecute for, and they're doing so while they're engaging in things such as monitoring your genitalia in a hotel room. That's a sex offense. And you need to know that companies are sex offenders, companies are terrorists, domestic terrorists, and companies are stalkers. This is what you're seeing UPS engage in. That's audible activity, relevant positioning, and ongoing pacing right here behind the Sheraton. That's Vineyard Avenue, where the entity had the fake sun after 7 p.m. on the same street. This is criminal monitoring. Let's get this company. Is that Vector? Sure is. 1599161. That's Vector, gang stalking, monitoring my vagina with the city of Ontario. This is domestic terrorism, and this is what Starbucks is maintaining inside of its cafe, where the fake sun remained until after 7 p.m. Pay attention to the domestic terrorists, those that are threatening your life and keep you under surveillance. It's FedEx, it's Vector, it's the Ontario International Airport, all of the airlines, UPS, that you accept packages from. While they're delivering them to you, they're keeping you under surveillance. And they're psychopaths, by the way. They're demonic companies, and they're demonic employees and officers and owners and shareholders who derive pleasure from monitoring you. They're demons. This is P.O.C. It's currently 11:48 a.m. Alrighty, you're listening to the video of substantial video documentation. What I just captured, remember, the entity's acting commercially, so I'm documenting companies that are gang stalking. Companies are operated by the people of the state who are gang stalking demons, engaging in demonic behavior. You're relating those companies to what is prosecution for criminal activity, not tortious activity, and it is that which is committed in furtherance of murder. And this is no stranger. FedEx is not a stranger to me. Vector is not a stranger to me. Those companies are engaging in targeting while they are in the specific environment, and they're acting pursuant to that same demonic synchronicity, which is no coincidence. It is the pattern of conduct, and that is the basis of the federal RICO case to prosecute the government and also to prosecute companies such as Vector, such as FedEx, such as EVERHOME Suites, such as Sheraton, such as KFC, such as RAMADA by WYNDHAM, such as UPS, etc. This is the entity. This is a massive prosecution against an entity that's engaging in what is the conspiracy to murder someone, that it is gang stalking together, and it is a government program. All right. This is P.O.C. and this is what Tracy Banks, this is what Jason Isaac Fields have been engaging in for years. And this is what they solicited. This is what they have been paying for. By the way, paying for with money, property that belongs to me. And this is what the city of Ontario has been invested in. And so are the rusty, crusty dusties that are gang stalking me throughout the city of Ontario. Okay? They can't afford to put an adequate weave, a persuasive weave, a realistic looking weave, a wig in their head. But yet they're stuck on my vagina and monitoring me and stalking me when you need to wash your face. This is an entity that's engaging in that sort of conduct. And then they're embarrassed and they go behind and try to make my podcast private on the internet. Okay? Because they don't want their desperation, they don't want their thirst, they don't want their obsession, their delusion, because you will never be me. You will never be anything like me. You will never be anybody that is engaging in this sort of you will never be anybody that is engaging in this type of, excuse the noise. You will never be anybody that's engaging in this type of conduct that is targeting another person. We're nothing alike. That's why you're stalking me. You're a demon and you're delusional. This is the entity that's engaging in this conduct, stalking me with airplanes, and that's the ongoing confirmation that the people of the state are actually stalking. When you're stalking me with a police department and a fire department and an airport, you're stalking me with every company, you're stalking me with every business, that's also confirmation of everything that I've already established with evidence. I don't have to make any aspect of the pattern of conduct up, neither would I, nor do I have time or find pleasure in doing that. The entities engaging in gang stalking, and these are demons that have that level of obsession with me, and demon possession is real, demonic activity is real, and so is the system of gang stalking, which is exposing public corruption, and the satanic companies such as FedEx who are gang stalking. And I documented the license plates of FedEx. This is an African-American third party, and FedEx is a third party, and I've documented FedEx for years. License 86681Z3. That's audible activity, relevant positioning, and light activity, and they're monitoring with the city of Ontario that's maintaining ongoing flight. Remember last night they were flying west behind EVERHOME Suites, and now they're flying what is behind alignment to Sheraton, which is Sheraton is the building rather is aligned toward what is the south. They're flying south, and they did so in that video for 3 consecutive flights. All right, in a video that's a short duration of time, that's rapid frequency, while FedEx is engaging in what is facilitating activity on the ground. 86681Z3. RAMADA is monitoring while FedEx comes, and under the guise of making a delivery, they will create a delivery. They will engage in presence under even if there is not an actual package. FedEx is a stalker. All right, FedEx, and the stalker characteristics is because it's demonic. So in case you did not know, that is the character of Satan. Satan is a creeper. Satan is obsessed. Satan is also delusional. Satan is also a pervert. Satan is also obsessive, all right, and also addicted to that which is not going to happen. So you're witnessing the evidence which is going to serve to diagnose and criminally prosecute. This is relevant to Alan D. Wapner's criminal conduct. Okay, Alan D. Wapner, that is facilitating the corrupt desires of the entity that includes Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, gang stalking me, and then going on the internet and blocking my my podcast from being published on YouTube in particular. YouTube is where the body of evidence, it's not the only website. I have my own website, and I don't even recommend that you get your all of your updates from YouTube. And by the way, YouTube should not be treated as though it's the most powerful platform because it's corrupt and it's ran by a bunch of demons. And the entity that's gang stalking, those demons are on YouTube stealing my content. Again, gang stalking is relevant to demonic activity. So these demons are on YouTube. The rusty, crusty dusties, in other words, are pulling tarot cards, acting like they're exposing something, they're revealing something. They're not. They're the same rusty, crusty dusties that I'm documenting here in Ontario. They're just on the internet. License CX65P57, that's a paper plate and it's an old one. That rusty, crusty probably put it on there. 9KGZ121, expecting it to be read, okay? But she doesn't expect to, or need to find a need, she doesn't find a need to expect to look decent in public when I'm gonna embarrass you for stalking me as a female at that. But it's not better because a male. 1565184, you already know the City of Ontario's gang stalking. Everything that I'm documenting is of the prosecution of the City of Ontario. That has the City of Ontario logo. These demons are walking around looking unkempt, all right, and they're not being targeted. They're not made transients. They are looking and running their lives and getting up, and that's also the state of their addiction with me. My every move while you're stalking another woman's genitalia, you are a homosexual. And that includes this rusty, crusty, dusty that are crossing path at Ramada, doing so while the entity is obsessed with me and stalking in commercial planes, okay? Stalking by, which you already know, the Ontario Police Department, that entire department full of sex offenders and stalkers, not law enforcement officers. Okay, and Mike Lorenz is being removed, and so is everyone else. This is what Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields summoned on an American citizen, which is relevant to surveillance that's underway in the United States, where you are subject to targeting by the government, and anyone can solicit. Let's target. They're all a bunch of demons that engage in gang conduct. All right, they are the demonic entity. It's well beyond what are, for example, Bloods and Crips, which are gangs. But there are more demons that are of this spiritual condition than there are the physical amount of people that are associated with the Bloods and Crips. But just for purposes of illustration, the Bloods and the Crips are recognized as gang members. The demon possessed are gang members, and there are millions of them. These are spirits that use people. That's how you have a whole population, a whole city-wide city full of the entity that is gang stalking, and this is gang conduct. The entity is engaging in this, and this is the solicitation by its gang members to target any person. That's the threat posed by the system of surveillance that's underway, unbeknownst to American citizens, and these gang members that are of the government engage in this pattern of conduct on behalf of its gang members. This is what Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields represent, and what they're engaged in, and what they're going to federal prison for. The entity that's targeting me by these rusty crusties in Ontario that are stalking, as I'm documenting in Hesperia, California. The entity is already prosecuted. Hesperia, the city of Hesperia is gang stalking under an impossible environment. Impossible to be anything other than what I've exposed, and they're doing so with the level of frequency of the planes. I'm capturing plane about every 30 seconds in the video that I just documented, and the entity is gang stalking with regard to that psychopathic conduct. The more that I document, the more that they engage in very obvious targeting conduct. Where are you flying toward the airport, rising in elevation? Where are you rising up in elevation over the 10 freeway? Behind the Sheraton, that's Vineyard Avenue. Where the fake sun on August 17, 2021, the fake sun is already on this block where it's over my head. It's still here as I'm documenting at the Motel 6, which is on the opposite side of the same street after 5 p.m. This is the entity that's surrounded with that evidence. The more that the demon possessed who are psychopaths, who don't want that to be exposed, the more that FedEx, the more Vector, the more the demons that are pacing into the driveway at Ramada, the ongoing increased plane activity, that's relevant to the escalation of the psychopathic behavior of the demons that don't want you to know that they're crazy, that they don't want you to know that they're obsessed with you. They don't want you to know that they're stalking and monitoring you. But first of all, I already knew that. And second of all, as I speak that truth to you and expose it and describe it, the demons that are already engaging in a pattern of conduct in plain view on video all over the internet, they engage in more and more and more of that very disturbing conduct. And that's also relevant to the prosecution for terrorism. Okay, stalking, rusty, crusty, 9LZP876, trying to hide what you cannot hide. Being a rusty, crusty, dusty is not concealed by driving a Tesla. All of that rusted crustedness is inside of that vehicle, stalking with impossible light activity. Somebody that is hideous in the spirit, someone that does not like themselves, someone that's engaging in a very serious federal offense, domestic terrorism, and is obsessed with my vagina, a sex offender. Pedophiles who are having sex with children are the ones who are stalking me, and they're doing so with Alan D. Wapner, Paul Leon, Michael GERKEN, and Mike Lorenz, who are stalking as departments. Those are rusty, crusty, dusties, not a police chief. That's a crusty, dusty demon who doesn't want you to know about that. Wearing a uniform and a badge does not hide that hideous figure. That is a demon in the spirit. Stalking and manifesting as a demon using fire trucks. The same with police vehicles. The entity is doing the same thing with stalking in planes and helicopters. 8TZW293 is crossing path again. All right, this is P.O.C. And it's currently, by the way, 11:58 a.m. And the fake sun's on the same side of the street that RAMADA by WYNDHAM is on. Yesterday, remember, it's very precise. That's how detailed it is, and pay attention to those details. While these dusties are crossing paths, license 9LZP876, this is a demon, doesn't have anything else to do. I don't particularly find Teslas impressive at all, but you need to understand that the reason why people that are on welfare are buying Teslas in California, it has nothing to do with what is your economic status or some symbol of success. By the way, those who are quote unquote successful are demon-possessed gang stalkers. All right, and they're obsessed with my vagina. Pay attention to the documentation where you would be impressed with those living in San Diego County. There's nothing impressive about demons. They kept that same fake sun. They were engaged in monitoring my vagina in the same manner with the same level of obsession, using all of the means of a sheriff's department and a police department, stalking little old me with the fake sun out of my hotel window at the Fairford Inn and Suites in San Diego off of Dean Martin was in Las Vegas, where the entity was also monitoring there. But I'm documenting in San Diego off of Pacific Beach, I believe. But the documentation, the specific name of that venue, I was there for a couple of days. And the entirety of that time, the entity kept the fake sun over me in San Diego. So the entity is stalking as I'm capturing video. And the more that I capture, the longer my videos, the more helicopter activity was outside of my window. This is the same thing, the analogous conduct of psychopaths, the more plane activity, which is obvious targeting conduct. But again, the entity cannot control itself. They are obsessed with my vagina. They are stalking me as a whole population of demons. Rusty, crusty demons that can never be me. They can never be with me. They can never force me to be with them. They will never, ever be anything other than a demon. And they are also envious because of their condition versus mine. License 1698079, a rusty, crusty driving in an Ontario Fire Department vehicle. Stalking, prosecuting the San Diego County, and San Diego County is prosecuting San Bernardino County. This is the entity that's listening to documentation and is doing so. And while I'm documenting in the same manner, the entity is engaging in what is stalking in San Diego County, where San Diego County is stalking by commercial plane outside of my window where the fake sun is right there. It's not the natural environment. All of San Diego County, not impressive whatsoever. There is nothing that is impressive about demons. You need to stop with your obsession with material possessions. These demons have sex with children to gain riches. These demons have sex and rape and use witchcraft to gain wealth. These demons gang stalk like 9JOZ455, a psychopath that thinks that targeting me is going to get, and all that's getting them is a federal case. That's it. And the end of this system happening in secret is over, and so is the entity that is going to be targeting me any further. Demons like Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields are going to federal prison. Absolutely going to federal prison for it, and the entity is also going to be comprehensively prosecuted. The entity is engaging in this, and this is what I'm referring to. August of 2024, I'm in San Diego. The fake sun's outside of that hotel room window. It's over my head in the morning, it's there in the afternoon, and it is there in the evening. That's the sunrise until sunset documentation, where a bunch of rusty crusties of all races and ages are under a fake sun, absurdly obsessed with me and my vagina. There's nothing impressive about a sex offender driving an Ontario Fire Department vehicle. That's not a fire chief. That's a demon-possessed sex offender. And what you need to know, it's a closeted and a to-be-exposed pedophile. And that's why they're gang stalking. That's why they're gang stalking. Gang stalkers are engaged in pedophilia in California. And it is not distinct, it's not different with regard to the celebrities living in California. When I'm on the freeway in Los Angeles, driving by Mulholland Drive, does the fake sun cease to be over my head? No, the entity is not stopping gang stalking by helicopter with the fake sun over my head on the roads and highways while I'm driving by, where celebrities of the same condition, same level of obsession. You've seen them on TV, and they're gang stalking. They know who I am, and they are obsessively monitoring. There is nothing impressive about a bunch of pedophiles who have engaged. By the way, the positions that they have achieved, they've done it through serving Satan. And that position, that post that they've stolen, is over as well. The entity's engaging in this, and this is what is putting, again, demons who are soliciting this conduct. This is what American citizens, this is a solicitation for murder, gang stalking. All right, you're going to federal prison. License 9A NW359, stalking while the fake son is on the particular side of the street where I'm on, where, again, the entity was stalking by vector. This is a psychopath that's using a whole company that's going to be prosecuted. That's in companies that are going to be subject to that. It's not just the money. It's not just draining the pockets. It's not just having the reputation and the criminal case as a terrorist, as a sex offender, as a company. You're going to be very much more particular about the demons that you hire, because they're going to drag you into cases just like this. And that's why you got a demon driving your vehicle and you just caught a case and you don't have any excuse out of that. It's a pattern of conduct. These companies are monitoring. That's what FedEx's impunity shows you. That's what Starbucks' impunity shows you. That's what Walmart's impunity shows you. All right. That's what RAMADA by WYNDHAM shows you. That's what the entity gang stalking by UPS planes. Those are companies. They're going to be prosecuted. You've got demons operating your companies, you're going to be prosecuted. And by the way, they're not innocent as companies sitting up as shareholders engaging in the satanic means of business, this capitalistic endeavor that is in service to Satan. It is breaking that down. It's imploding it. Okay? It is currently 12:03 p.m. and the fake sun's remaining over me on the same side of the street. That's how detailed it is. And like I stated, August 17th, August 18th, the entity is keeping the fake, in 2021 that is. The fake sun's over Motel 6. The fake sun's over the Ontario Police Department during the 11 a.m. hour. This is where I'm at, where the entity is stalking with commercial planes, putting its own demons. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. And you already know that, and I stated that years ago. That's why they're already surrounded with years of evidence showing that they've been targeting and obsessed with my vagina. Not just the fact that you're engaged in surveillance. The evidence shows that you are a sex offender. The evidence shows that you've conspired murder. The evidence shows that you've engaged in repeated kidnapping with knowledge that you were documented. The evidence shows all of that, including while the Ontario International Airport, that is Alan D. Wapner and Michael Gerken, are sharing in that same criminal obsession, and they've been documented for years as well. But this evidence is surrounding where the fake sun is on at this time of year, August 17th, August 18th, 2021. The fake sun's over the Ontario Police Department, where I'm at 1841 East G Street during the 11 a.m. hour, 11:30, 12 o'clock. Where's the fake sun? It's not over 2500 South Archibald in Ontario off of the 60 freeway. No, it's not. It's over my head, but it's not at that address. And that is out of conformity with what the natural environment dictates. And so is everything else, showing how a city that is a state, which is within a county, within a pattern of conduct of stalking with a whole ridiculous environment. And that's showing you the level of obsession by a government that's full of demons engaging in what is a demonic system. And you are subject to what is this threat while demons like Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Phillips engage in solicitation for murder. License 9KGZ121, gang stalking me in furtherance of murder, keeping me under surveillance, monitoring, psychologically torturing in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder of the person that they are gang stalking together. And it's a crime committed by the population. It's a crime committed by the local government. It's a crime committed by the county. It's a crime committed by the state. While you hear that amplified noise, you'll see UPS increasingly rising in elevation. License WWA30W. That's Arizona. License 9TDD363. While the fake sign is over the Ontario International Airport on this day, it's currently 12:06 p.m. in 2021. 22800C3. Demons driving around in a white van, driving straight with the turn signal on. That's light activity. And the entity is gang stalking, not only flying straight like they're taking off over, they're literally taking off over Vineyard, and then they're engaging in a U-turn. That's the targeting that they're engaging at the Ontario Town Square, where they're not engaging in anything other than stalking. That's what they're doing while the entity is gang stalking. Let me show you what Michael Gerken is obsessively consumed with. Ongoing stalking, pacing, flying while the fake sun is over me. The Ontario International Airport is stalking, flying, taking off right here on what is Vineyard Avenue, where the fake sun was documented. My video just ran out of. My video recorder just stopped recording. Where the fake sun is documented setting after 7 p.m. License C845U1, I believe. The Ontario Fire Department is pacing around just like the demons of the Ontario Police Department are. This is stalking conduct, okay? And remember, while the entity Tracy Banks is going to federal prison, the fake sun is east of the entirety of that apartment complex. It's east of the, G Street and Euclid. But the entity was stalking, Alan D. Wapner was stalking me, specifically with knowledge, as I documented Alan D. Wapner by name. Planes would arrive amplified inside of her hotel while the fake sun was over me from sunrise until sunset. Alan D. Wapner is not only being removed from office, this is relevant for a federal prosecution, conspiring my murder by psychologically torturing me. That's what that evidence evidence shows, in doing so in conformity to a pattern of conduct with the fire department in Ontario, with the police department in Ontario, surrounded with evidence where the son, license 8FKE633, stalking me under it, the fake son, is at the same time over the Ontario Ontario Police Department, like I'm documenting, showing you a whole body of evidence of not only the mental illness, which is relevant to demon possession, which is how you'll prosecute it in court, the mental illness, the disqualification, and the necessary disbanding of the Ontario police that are stalking as demons under a fake son that's over their department in August of 2021 at the same time, where UPS is taking off over the Vineyard Avenue, where the fake son is setting on this same street, like I documented in images to prove it, after 7 p.m. yesterday. Okay, what's documented same time of year, 2021, 2022, 2024, I'm in Hesperia, California. This is an entity that's stalking. The Ontario fire, you'll see the images of it because the video stopped. That's the entity that's stalking. The fake sun is over the top of my head. That's the entity that's keeping the fake sun over the Starbucks. The Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue. And remember, it's also keeping it over the Starbucks at 706 West Holt Boulevard. Don't forget, it's also keeping it over the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. I'm also documenting the entity gang stalking me in 2024 at Starbucks in Pasadena, where the same pattern of conduct, inexplicable, impossible, that is, demonic, hard evidence that's direct, not circumstantial evidence of surveillance, where you're looking at your shadow appearing at a wall in front of you with regard to you're being coated with light, and you're also looking at that fake sun over the top of your head in conformity to a pattern as you come from San Bernardino County to Los Angeles County and Pasadena at a random Starbucks. It's not a random Starbucks, and Starbucks knows who you are. Starbucks is engaging in surveillance, and Starbucks is aiding in the prosecution of the city of Ontario, the disbanding of the Ontario police, the federal imprisonment of Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks, the federal imprisonment of kidnappers that work for Starbucks like Ocean, license 9BCE705, gang stalking just like these demons are with the city of Ontario, with the fire department, because that's what they were doing inside when I'm already on the record inside of Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. That is not over 1841 East G Street. This is how that body of evidence works with regard to prosecuting everything regarding what it is that I've already documented when they are engaging in what is surveillance with the intent to psychologically torture and furtherance of committing murder. All right, this is why Tracy Banks has been gang stalking me for years. She conspired with the government that engages in this all the time. This is ordinary surveillance that's been underway for years. So the entity used witchcraft, which doesn't work on me. Matter of fact, it doesn't even. Not only does it not work, I'm going to let you know about the satanic tactics of demons who are monitoring, and as public corruption is underway in plain sight. And it includes stalking using whole airports, stalking using whole fire departments and police departments, sheriff's departments, who clearly don't have anything else to do. They clearly don't have anything else to do. They're gassing up the vehicles of the fire department to drive around the block to stalk me. That's how important I am. That's getting to, again, the rusty, crusty demons wearing all manner of manufactured body parts and also horrible wigs and weaves. And they're engaging in what they should be focused on, for example, is like a treadmill, perhaps, or, for example, putting more detail and attention into what it is that you choose to wear. And certainly because you're not a transient who's being targeted by the state, you call that what you decided to put that on to come stalk me as a rusty, crusty demon. That is engaging, again, the entity is engaging in all manner of resources stalking one person, and that is speaking to the importance of that person. That is speaking contrary to what the demon-possessed would like to suggest again, that the entity is minding its business, everyday life, while they are absurdly obsessed and homosexual. The demon-possessed women are obsessed with the vagina of the target individual who is a woman. The demon-possessed gang stalkers of the male race are sex offenders as well, equally obsessed with the vagina of the targeted individual. This is sexual violence, this is sexual obsession, and psychopathic stalking conduct by a demon-possessed entity. This is going to be addressed as mental illness, and it occurs under the guise of companies engaging in business. EVERHOME Suites, Chick-fil-A, Sheraton, KFC, the Denny's, the Motel 6, Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard, everybody on Vineyard Avenue. Holt Boulevard is what is south of my location right here. Euclid Avenue is west of my location over here. The entity is monitoring in a whole other location, a whole other venue, keeping the fake sun over Euclid Avenue at the same time where Ocean at Starbucks is engaging in kidnapping at 7:15 in the morning on July 4th, 2025. This minion is going to federal prison. She's going to federal prison for gang stalking pursuant to this criminal system, and the entity puts itself in prison. The more and more that you're stalking in commercial planes, well, that's ongoing relevant evidence regarding what I already told you. 8ULJ219 is stalking at Starbucks when I am under the fake sun at that venue, and they engage in then summoning the demons of the Ontario police, who are also gang stalking and who are engaging in what is kidnapping pursuant to what is obstruction of justice, because you're documenting, which is exactly what you're going to do. That's exactly what you're going to do. 9 PSF 808. So the answer is Starbucks, the corporation headquartered in Seattle, shall not engage in criminal surveillance, shall not engage in domestic terrorism and psychological torture as a means of profiting, as a means of maliciously facilitating surveillance and murder, systematic murder, organized crime, and then calling it a coffee business, as opposed to gang stalking and then obstructing justice, summoning the gang stalkers themselves to commit kidnapping because Starbucks doesn't want its name to be associated with what Starbucks is doing. And that's why terrorists like Ocean and every other demon gang stalking on the morning of 7/4/2025, July 4, 2025, they're going to prison. And so is Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields. The entities engaging in federal stalking on the venue of the internet, the ongoing stalking by commercial plane, by the fire department, by the police department, the ongoing stalking at this time of year in 2021 while the fake sun's over the Ontario Police Department, and then remaining over me in the presence of Tracy Banks, who's going to federal prison. The entity that's gang stalking, as I'm documenting, what is yesterday, 2025, where the entity is engaged in this P.O.C. So the demons that are, again, psychopathic, engage in crossing path again, this is supposed to be Defiance. You're going to pay attention to their crossing path right now. That's license 1332569. Those are the demons that are, again, that's exactly what the federal government's going to address. This is mental illness that's exhibited, 7SNS020. But don't forget, because who's going to prison? Ocean's going to prison. So the entity is engaging what is gang stalking with Ocean at that Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. That same impunity. Ocean's going to federal prison. The entity is engaging in what is just defiant, ongoing conduct, and this is their attitude toward murdering people. Don't forget that. Michael Gerken's out of office. Paul Leon's out of office. This impunity is what you're mindful of. The demons are sitting up, monitoring the evidence, and then engaging in what they, in their sick minds, think is you ain't retaliating regarding anything. You're going to prison. Gang stalking demons who commit kidnapping, like the Ontario Fire Department, they're going to prison. It's already on the record. The entities engaging in this conduct while they're monitoring the evidence. So the demons that don't have anything else to do, that's why they're all done with firefighting. Michael Gerken's out of that position. You don't have anything else to do other than monitor my vagina, sit around pacing the block under a whole fake sun relevant to your mental illness and the sexual misconduct that you're engaging in as a criminal system, incentivizing that with sex offenders, pedophiles like 6FOB255. All right, they're engaging in that with real-time knowledge of the documentation, and that goes back to what they engaged in at from June 3rd, 2025 until July 4th, 2025, as a matter of documentation, until Ocean and everybody else at that Starbucks engaged in kidnapping with the intent to obstruct justice, kidnapping as an entity, with that same Ontario Fire Department that decides, while it's being documented, to demonstrate the impunity that it has towards your constitutional rights, towards your human rights, towards your privacy, toward the Constitution, toward what is being a basic, decent human being, toward being the person that you exhibit or want to be viewed as a firefighter, while you're stalking with the police department. Don't be deceived. Michael Gerken and the Ontario Fire are stalking in concert with the police department. When I document Ontario Police Department, those are the demons that are going to federal prison. Those are the demons that are engaging in what is an unlawful threat. But do not be deceived. The entity that is stalking every third-party license plate, all these businesses, the Ontario International Airport, the Ontario Police Department is the same entity. They're monitoring. They're going to prison. Period. The entities engaging in this, and that all I want you to remember is this: the impunity that the Ontario Fire Department exhibits today, that's the same impunity that they share with the demons gang stalking me at the Starbucks where they committed kidnapping as an entity. Okay, Ocean represents what is a disdain for constitutional rights and privacy of women. Okay, the same species that she shares with me, but she's a homosexual. Did you know that? She's obsessed with my vagina. Based on her condition and her necessarily relevant condition based on her criminal pattern of conduct, her malice engaging in that conduct, her disdain for being exposed as such, and her criminal conduct precipitating from being documented, which is criminal summoning, which is part of the pattern of conduct as well. And who is it that she's criminally summoning? The demons that you hear screaming out, shut up about what? License 6KWH348. These are the demons that are already proven to be stalking. She's going to federal prison. She is indeed a homosexual. Like all of the demon-possessed females, you need to know that. Satan doesn't have a gender, but you're going to prosecute and going to expose the demon-possessed who are engaging in it. And these are females that are engaging in sexual obsession with another woman's genitalia. That's homosexual behavior, and it's also sexually violent. They are also pedophiles. License APSU 084 is sharing in that. Pedophiles who are walking around with minor children and closeted homosexuals, lusting after my vagina, gang stalking on the roads and the highway, screaming out, shut up about what? And how do you know that I'm talking? Who is it that is listening? Who is it that when I'm documenting walking into the bathroom at the OVITT Family Community Library under the fake sun, and the demon is responding to that which you should not be responding to if you don't already know the substance of it, and doing so in a hostile manner? That's the same spirit, okay? That homosexual spirit that's obsessed with my vagina, that is possessing every single female in the city of Ontario, in case you did not know that. That includes Tracy Banks. She's an incestuous sex offender, obsessed with the vagina of her daughter. While she has sex with a fake friend of mine, Jason Isaac Fields, obsessed with my vagina, and their sexual activity centers around my vagina. This is the hardcore reality and truth about the demons who are mentally deranged, stalking me in fire trucks and police vehicles, as whole police departments, as the fake sun over me at the Ontario Police Department shows the whole world. That police department that is gang stalking as a means of the core focus, which is surveillance and not law enforcement. That's why the fake sun is over me at the same time of year, and they're providing evidence against themselves. This demon 7NAN500 is a hostile demon and knows exactly the substance of my speech while they are stalking, and all that knowledge is not secretive and just intuitively known by me. It is known by the federal government, who's watching a fake sun remain over me while a bunch of demons engage in a failed ritual, pacing all around over me under that fake sun, which is failing in what is effective psychological torture. You're going to prosecute. Failing in the conspiracy to accomplish murder, you're going to prosecute. 8RTX 685, and this is solicited by people like Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks, who are going to federal prison. 9SPR 911. License 6NYR368, another pedophile, and that's shared by companies that are gang stalking with the same level of impunity. The Ontario Fire Department goes inside a Starbucks gang stalking with the entity at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where they committed kidnapping under that fake sun that's there. The Ontario Fire Department's at that same venue after 1 o'clock, after 4 o'clock in the evening, and yet Ocean is there at 7:15 in the morning, engaging in what is a documented act of kidnapping, obstruction of justice, knowing exactly who I am, is hostile because she is an exposed homosexual, obsessed with my vagina, stalking and obsessively monitoring me in furtherance of my murder with the government, who provided evidence against her at the venue where she works, a basis to prosecute her by itself. She is the one that's engaging in kidnapping, while these imbeciles stalking in a fire truck, not understanding the weight of the evidence that they're providing against themselves and co-defendants like Ocean, who belongs in the federal cell that she's going in. She belongs there. She shares that same impunity, that same disregard, that same indignant attitude toward the truth about what you are and what you're doing. Yelling out, shut up. That's audible activity by a demon. That's stalking. License 9UGB 729. You can't even hear me when you're driving in the vehicle. Oh, they're all listening. You need to understand that they're demons, and they're all sex offenders monitoring my vagina while it's taking a bath in the bathroom inside of this hotel, where the fake sun is over me at 1841 East G Street, where a bunch of sex offenders obsessed with my vagina, keeping it under surveillance day and night, which an incestuous pedophile, Tracy Banks, shares in, and her sex partner, Jason Isaac Fields, a pedophile, sharing in that sexual violence, trying to steal from me, and then soliciting this conduct by the City of Ontario, using all manner of its resources: planes, helicopters, fire trucks, ambulances, police vehicles, police department, sheriff's department. And they're all under that fake sun, sharing in that satanic ritual. And not only is that exposed, but they're going to be federally prosecuted. It's terrorism in the United States. License 9BWC 458. It's the organized crime where the entity is engaging in what is gang stalking. It's the solicitation of murder. It is committed in furtherance of murder. So when you're gang stalking, you've already completed that conspiracy. By the way, you're going to be prosecuted for that. 9MJZ090. Every single last one, including those in position. Paul Leon, Mike Lorenz, Michael GERKEN, and Alan D. Wapner. These demons are gang stalking, and you are in position of authority. These companies are gang stalking in furtherance. It's going under the name of how the demon-possessed do it. They thought you would never know that companies are gang stalking. They thought you would never know that the establishment that you're at, and how are you going to prosecute that? How are you going to... This is what Satan thought. Okay, all the false premises upon which this satanic system of monitoring someone, they thought it was never going to be. And not only is it known, there's a whole comprehensive means of prosecuting it and making the entity that's going to be prosecuted not only embarrassed and regretting it for the rest of their lives, for the rest of that company's existence, if it even survives, but also with regard to a prosecution where you will sit in a cell. Because conspiring murder Engaging in murder, engaging in attempted murder, gang stalking and furtherance of murder. That's no small thing whatsoever. Kidnapping in order to conceal the fact that you're conspiring murder, like what Ocean engaged in with the fire department. That's gang stalking with the same disdain for actual laws. All right? Michael Gerken's being removed from office, and Michael Gerken was gang stalking with Starbucks, who committed kidnapping together with the Ontario Police Department on July 4, 2025. And that's what they're accomplishing by stalking under a fake sun. That's what the mentally ill fail to recognize. And that's because they are inferior. They are rusty, crusty dusties who are obsessed with my genitalia and have no brain strength whatsoever because they're spirits. You're going to prosecute those spirits because they're using bodies. License plates identifying them. License 9 UCM 340. An ignorant demon that's obsessed with me is using that puppet. And I'm going to prosecute that puppet. I'm going to prosecute them and drag them in court because they're fools. They're fools. It is currently, by the way, while the entity is engaged in this documentation, it's 12:22 p.m. On August 17, 2021, the entity kept a fake sun over me in the presence of this gang stalker, Tracy Banks, criminally conspiring the murder of her own daughter, doing so with the same city of Ontario, with the same state of California. This is on the record while I'm in her vehicle, license 4WON432. The fake sun remains over me while I've been released from a kidnapping by this same entity that engaged in kidnapping on June 18, 2021 by S. Patty. She's going to federal prison. She's not the only one that engaged in kidnapping in June of 2021. She is going to federal prison. The impunity that the entity is exhibiting right now, there's no statute of limitations with regard to kidnapping pursuant to surveillance by the government. And there certainly isn't when the government is still engaging in that criminal system. S. Patty's going to federal prison, and so is Tracy Banks, and the Ontario police are still gang stalking. While I go to the Ontario Police Department, they have stolen documentation, that's federal prison, and the fake sign they're monitoring at the police station. That's the impunity shared by the fire department, by the police department, by kidnappers like the Starbucks Corporation, who are hostile because you have the nerve to enforce your constitutional human rights. And that Starbucks that wants you to look at them as some sort of idol, some sort of thing to esteem to be like in California, they're demons. And therefore murder, therefore pedophilia, therefore violence against women, therefore oppression, therefore kidnapping those that want to enforce their rights. That's what Starbucks is actually about. They're for terrorism. Look at that light activity. They're stalking. They are psychopathic. They are exhibiting what is actual mental illness. And the entity that keeps the fake sun over me in Tracy Banks' presence, that's the entity that's gang stalking now. And there's a body of evidence showing how the entity is stalking as a population, what's going on at this time of year in August of 2021, because that fake sun remains over me. And then we're going to a shopping plaza at T-Mobile over off of the 60 freeway. I'm right here at the 10 where the entity is taking off from the 10 freeway, because that's literally what those videos show, the ridiculousness of what is stalking me under a fake sun. Like the Ontario Police Department is stalking at a at a police department, you're being disbanded. The ridiculousness of their criminal conduct, the embarrassing conduct of what they've committed, and I captured in evidence to not only openly expose the demons who serve Satan, who are pedophiles, who engage in murder and kidnapping to try to conceal it, who practice witchcraft, okay, who engage in homosexual conduct, failing and gaining any spiritual authority. That's why they're being embarrassed now, because that does not work against Christ followers. They're engaging in this conduct, in this failed sacrifice, and it's a conspiracy to murder by a police department. That's what C. Hazelwood and Owens are engaging in, by the way, when they're gang stalking with these demons. And you're supposed to make some sort of, this is how ignorant they are. You're supposed to make some separation in your mind. You're looking at them gang stalking the other night in front of Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. They're monitoring the videos they break up. They're monitoring on the video on the internet. And you're looking at me document them stalking with the fire department, stalking under a fake sun. That's where, at what point in the day is the sun over the OVITT Family Community Library when I'm remaining at this hotel, remaining at the Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, Vineyard and G Street? When is it going to be in Hesperia outside of my window? Because that's what I documented on this day in 2024, yesterday in 2024, the day before that. License 8XXE313 is stalking with the City of Ontario, stalking in a plane over my head. 9UZH726, stalking with the City of Ontario, stalking by a plane over my head. Just like you saw the pattern at the Starbucks yesterday at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, where the fake sun's over my head at the roof of that venue, and the entity is stalking in planes. That's what you hear. That's audible activity, and a psychopath that's obsessed with my vagina. They spend millions of dollars of keeping an American citizen like myself under surveillance, and the entity's been doing this for years, and it is the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. Okay? It's P.O.C. And by the way, while the Ontario Police is being disbanded, don't forget on who is targeting with the Ontario Police, because this is what Jason Isaac Fields is relying on in court. They're trying to put me and establish me as some criminal, as some mental case, while the police are the ones that are stalking. The city of Ontario is exhibiting mental illness, stalking me in planes and helicopters, stalking me with all manner of light that's just manifesting out of nowhere. Where is that light coming from? That's relevant to their mental illness while they're stalking. Engaging in what is psychological torture, engaging in criminal surveillance using devices, communication devices. Jason Isaac Fields is sitting up in a corrupt court with a corrupt judge. All of them are monitoring. That's the quote-unquote sophisticated level of gang stalking targeting, trying to steal my property while maintaining this program at the same time. He's going to prison, and so is his sex partner, Tracy Banks. Okay? License 8CL J7, I can't really see that, you can scratch that one. License 6SPB138. While the city of Ontario is flying over my head, and they're flying over my head where the fake sun is over my head at 7VAA581 is stalking in the path as well. That's all manner of comprehensive surveillance. And that's the entity that's doing so with the fire department that you'll see crossing path, stalking. That's literally, so let me break that sickness down for you, and it's relevant to the evidence against the entity. So you're not going to be in court crying for mercy, stating, oh, please don't put me in prison. I did not mean to, and I didn't know, and what I thought was, and I didn't know that it was going to be resulting in that, and I was just participating, and I didn't have a choice, and I was forced to da-da-da. It's legally irrelevant, because this is exactly what the demons are engaging in. First of all, the entity is sitting back and monitoring 790BPCS. That's an out-of-state license plate, Caucasian male, sex offender, a pedophile, and he's obsessed with my vagina. He's monitoring as an entity. The entity is sitting back listening. I'm discussing the Ontario Fire Department in particular, the fact that the officials that are going to be removed from office, how this is intolerable, how this is absolutely going to be dealt with regard to federal law, prosecution. You're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. While the entity that is the Ontario Fire Department is listening, they deliberately decide in their mind, and I'm describing what it is that the entity is thinking based on their pattern of conduct and based on their focusing on and stalking me as a matter of evidence. So that's why I am literally in the position to do that. Okay? So the entity is engaging in sitting back, listening to the evidence, and then deciding, oh, I'm going to go and stalk her anyway. You're not, this is the delusion. And while they're doing that, remember, it's being documented, it's going toward a prosecution, toward people that don't want to go to prison, gang stalking with that same fire department, showing what is ambition and motivation to accomplish my murder, to psychologically torture me, to sexually violate, okay? The entity is sitting back listening to that as I speak of specifically the Ontario Fire Department, Michael Gerken, crossing path, which is very specific and intentional and deliberate with regard to infliction of harm while the fake sun is over me in that specific environment. Shared with the demons who you see, that's audible activity, not a motor. Okay, everything has a specific context in that specific environment. The entity decided to engage in what is threatening me by the Ontario Fire Department while they're sitting back using a whole fire truck, lying in wait, driving around wasting gas, wasting a whole fire truck while they're supposed to be putting out fire somewhere, doing something, training something. Or shouldn't he be hugging a dog or helping children? You want to be caught on camera hugging them and shaking hands with them? No, they're stalking me and monitoring my vagina. That's actually what they're doing. They want you to see them in images like that so that you are distracted and also deceived by the fact their actual purpose is surveillance and sexual violence, conspiring the murder of American citizens, and I'm exposing it. And they deliberately chose at that point in time, while I was referring to what fire departments are not going to do, as though they're going to rebut and literally oppose what the federal government is going to mandate. What the federal prosecution requires as a matter of evidence, a prosecution, a conviction, and I'm entitled to it and I proved it and it's going to happen. The entity is engaging in this and that's relevant to the crossing and path conduct, which I captured in a screenshot because remember my camera ran out of space. So screenshots, now the screenshot that I'm taking is relevant to the time. Ordinarily when I'm taking screenshots, it's not relevant for the time. I mean, it is with regard to a bigger picture. It might be relevant for some other reason when I took a screenshot. But I'm screenshotting images and video, and it's not relevant. Well, I'm not going to say it's not relevant. It's not probative necessarily for the specific time where the entity is engaging in something. But now it is because I'm using the screenshot as a moment of capturing the criminal activity. So the screenshot time is showing when this entity is stalking by a fire truck, representing the Ontario Fire Department, stalking and monitoring evidence and engaging in what is Title 18 federal stalking with an intent to obstruct justice. And doing so, it's relevant that same impunity, that same obstruction of justice, that same disdain for the life of a woman, of an American citizen, that's what's gang stalking me with Ocean at Starbucks. And that's the same entity. That's shared by the entity that is engaging in kidnapping. And the Ontario Fire Department is under the fake sun, by the way, on the opposite side, Euclid Avenue, where the entity is stalking by what is the Ontario Fire Department at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is the entity that's maintaining this fake sun while they're pacing on this same street. The entity doesn't go anywhere with the fake sun, okay? So, and that's on Euclid Avenue. So the entity that's listening to me speak of the lack of storage then crosses path in helicopter. The same demons that are gang stalking, you'll see that fake sun. Yeah, and you'll see the entity flying while the fake, that's the Ontario Police Department. That's the entity that is, again, stalking with C. Hazelwood and Owens, who are going to federal prison. It's the same conduct while the Ontario International Airport is stalking, hovering over the 10 freeway, flying toward the airport. That's the entity that's engaging what is stalking at the OVITT Family Community Library for 20 minutes upon my entrance at 10:17 a.m. on August 21st, 2025. That's the entity that's doing so with knowledge of documentation as I publish it on X, as I publish it on YouTube. And the entity engages in what is exhibiting mental illness in doing so and flying directly over my head. I want you to see that, while the fake sun is over the top of my head. All right, license 1633972, San Bernardino County, who knows that it's been documented, engaged in kidnapping, engaged in criminal defamation. You'll see those images while the entity is engaging in that, okay? That's P.O.C. This is the conduct that's putting Tracy Banks in federal prison. All right, the entity relied on the criminal conduct of the San Bernardino County, the criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department to engage in what is defamation while they're kidnapping, and they relied on that as a means to rely on what is something under a secret conservatorship, as though there's mental illness, and they're engaging in kidnapping pursuant to stalking like the Ontario Police in San Bernardino County is right now. The entity is engaging in that conduct, and this is what Jason Isaac Fields in the corrupt court that maintain a secret conservatorship when Jason Fields is maintaining a fraudulent marriage, a marriage that I know nothing about, a marriage that I would never actually participate in or agree to. This is a demon that's having sex with my mother, that's been engaged in repeatedly kidnapping me with the Ontario Police and San Bernardino County, who just engaged in targeting me together, and doing so at 12:32 p.m. Okay? Alrighty, I'm continuing documentation because that is punctuating the entity that's going to federal prison. The gang stalking demons that are the Ontario Police committed repeated acts of kidnapping with San Bernardino County, and that was what the entity engaged in, trying to establish mental illness, while Tracy Banks and Jason Fields, Eric Spencer, Shanita Ramaya McLean, Carrie Heberlin, Ariana Elena Lopez, and whatever her last name is now, because I believe she got married, if she got married, but her maiden name is Ariana Elena Lopez. The entity Edwin Lamont Grant, anybody that the entity utilized to be in court pursuant to what is defaming my character. These are all the fake friends, the fake family members. Tommy Allen Banks, he is a convicted sex offender, by the way, but he's also a gang stalker, monitoring me inside of Tracy Banks' apartment on her communication device, doing so with the Ontario Police Department, kidnapping with the Ontario Police Department in 2019, his participation in any criminal act submitted by this entity trying to steal my property through a secret conservatorship and a fraudulent marriage, which Tracy Banks and Jason Fields relied on. This same criminal duo, San Bernardino County, whose license plate you just heard, and I captured an image, and the Ontario Police Department. These are the imbeciles that engage in that conduct. They're going to prison. That's exactly what I'm talking about. They're going to prison. The entity engages in kidnapping with the Ontario Fire Department and Starbucks. That's relevant to the entity that goes to Starbucks to engage in psychological torture. Oh, we're going to be right in your face, or we're going to stalk you right now. And you're going to document it, and nothing's going to happen. That's what the delusional psychopaths tell themselves. San Bernardino County engaged in kidnapping and criminal defamation. All right. They tried to, on paper, manufacture, create a relationship such that I'm a patient and I'm some sort of client of theirs. And that was never the case. San Bernardino County, just like you are listening to right now, just like I documented, have been engaged in targeting me. They engaged in kidnapping on June 16, 2022 with the same police department, Ontario Police, at the OVITT Family Community Library, where, by the way, the fake sun is over that entrance at 10:29 a.m. This is beyond 10:29 a.m. June 16, 2022. This is the same time of year. This is the entity that's already surrounded by that evidence. Okay? But again, the entity is engaging in this while I am documenting it, and the documentation is evidence to put people where the evidence requires them to go. If you are stalking and kidnapping and trying to defame by theft, and doing so as a whole unprecedented means of surveillance, that is the grounds of federal prison. And that's where the demon's kidnapping on June 16th, she's with San Bernardino County. It's on my website today because she's going to federal prison. She's gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department, Officer Guerrero, Officer Watson, who you see gang stalking a lot under the fake sun. That's not on Vineyard, and it's not on G Street. It's over there off of Euclid. It's over there also at the Starbucks where Ocean engaged in kidnapping. Watson, 80548, he's going to prison. He's under the fake sun at all manner of hours. 6:33 in the morning, 9:30 in the morning at the same Starbucks, during the 9 a.m. hour at 333 North Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is over me at 12:51. It's not going to be today. It's 12:36 p.m. and Alex Escobar is going to federal prison, where he's gang stalking me at that same bank, where the entity is stalking in helicopter while the fake sun's over the top. It's the same pattern of conduct. This stalking in helicopter, this flying in circles over the top of your head, is relevant to psychological torture. This is what San Bernardino County, the Ontario Police Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the Rancho Cucamonga Courthouse relied on, so that Tracy Banks and all the demons, Eric Spencer, they're all going to prison. This is what they relied on. See, she's mentally ill. See, she was engaging in what is harassing the police. She's engaged in what is accusing people of all manner of just crazy things. She's out of her mind. And she's engaged in criminal conduct. She can't function. She can't even go to work. She can't even take care of herself. And this is somebody that is in no condition to have her own property. She's in no condition to have custody of her own real property, her own, her own money, because she can't be trusted. She's in this ill state mentally, and I need to be able to take control as her husband, okay? I need to be the one to have control over that estate. I need to be the one as her conservator to maintain control over her property, while the Ontario Police Department in San Bernardino County, the city of Ontario, that is the state of California, the gang stalker itself that you're listening to me expose, this is what is coexisting while you have demons like Eric Spencer, Ariana Lopez, Carrie Heberlin, Edwin Grant, you have Shanita Ramaya McLean, DeJuan Williams, Glenn Anthony Williams, anybody that walked in that courtroom. They're all defaming my character. They're all lying out of their faces, and they're all going to prison. Every single last one of them. They're gang stalking me in the same way that the city of Ontario is right now. They're doing so in what is supporting a secret conservatorship, a criminal act, a fraudulent act, a secret and fraudulent marriage to me. I'm not even friends. I can't even stand Jason Isaac Fields. I didn't forget about any marriage. I didn't agree to any marriage. I've never been married to anyone. I've never had any kids. I've never even dated Jason Isaac Fields. He's been engaged in sexual activity with my mother, which he also kept a secret. Okay, while he's abusing a government position, this is what this entity is doing together. While the Ontario police are exhibiting this impunity, flying in circles, that's what I just captured. I'm going to upload it to the, I'm going to show it on the YouTube post, and I'm going to put it on the X channel, okay? Because this is the entity is doing it while you're listening to the podcast. And I am documenting at the same time, the entity decides, just like the Ontario Fire Department, they chose, and this is the entity that decides that this is delusional conduct. There's a lot of people that are going to federal prison for what is targeting me. And they tried to steal my money and property. Gang stalking does not establish me as mentally ill at all. You just witnessed the conspiracy to defame me, San Bernardino County and Ontario Police, and they did it in concert with the Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. They did it in concert with San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. They did it in concert with demons like Lisa Rogan. All right? They did it in concert with demons that are at that Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, who are engaging in what is federal group stalking monitoring, including the fake sun over that courthouse. It's already sitting on the record. All right? They're going to prison. The entity is punctuating what it is I've already shown through a body of evidence, my intellectual property. And the entity is doing that while they're sitting up and listening to me document. San Bernardino County intentionally crosses path at the same time that the Ontario Police Department fly over my head. That's relevant. That's psychological torture. Ooh, we're going to pace. These are demons. Ooh, we're going to pace around you in circles, in helicopter. Ooh, this is going to make you go crazy. No, I'm going to document that. And this is the entity that's been targeting for years. This is what they were engaging in together, targeting, while they were making up information. The Ontario Police engaged in kidnapping and made up charges under with regard to the laws that they don't even have authority under. They're engaged in surveillance. So let's legally analyze that, and let's practically break down what they were doing. They were stalking, and then they're hostile to being documented as stalking. Then they commit kidnapping, and then make up charges to support what is kidnapping when you're abusing the criminal justice system, and when you are a bunch of demons masquerading as a law enforcement agency, and that's shared by Shannon Dykes and the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, where those demons get into a vehicle of the San Bernardino County and cross path while the police fly over my head. That's the same entity that's targeting with regard to, on paper, committing kidnapping and then engaging in what is criminal defamation. And that's what Jason Fields and Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer and everybody else relied on. Oh yeah, she's mentally ill. Oh yeah. She's been crazy for a long time. She's been, attacking my kids, and she's been a drug addict. She's been prostituting, and I've been telling her, man, Erica, you need to really get your life together. I don't know what else to do to help her, but I definitely think that she's in no condition to hold on to this property, to this money. This is what the entity's been doing behind my back while the Ontario Police, the City of Ontario, the State of California, like I'm documenting in 2024, where the Ontario Police in San Bernardino County are stalking while the fake son's over me in Hesperia, California, after being over me in San Diego, California, and in Kern County, remaining over me while Kern County sheriffs are stalking in the same manner that the Ontario Police Department are, where San Diego County are stalking in the same manner that the Ontario Police Department are. All right, where Orange County Sheriff's Department are stalking me in the same manner that the Ontario Police Department are. All right, the entities engage in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while they listen. That's exactly what the Ontario Fire Department did. The entity is doing so with disregard for the evidence that's already surrounding them. Tracy Banks and Jason Fields are very much indeed going to federal prison, and so is everybody else that set their tails in a courtroom that's engaged in criminal monitoring with the intent to conspire to kidnap. That's keep an American citizen that they're defaming under surveillance via gang stalking, which is, again, the entity's mental illness is supposed to psychologically torture another person. 9 SEU 198, their mental illness, their sexual violence, their obsessive stalking of you is supposed to result in your mental illness, your breakdown. All right, and that's what the entity sought. This is the practice of witchcraft, but it doesn't work. It's not working against me. And not only that, because it doesn't work, now you got a whole roster of people that are going to prison and a police department that's being disbanded. Okay, they're being disbanded while you see them flying in circles. That's the images that I took. You'll see the fake suns over the top of my head. And it's at 12:33 when I documented that. The entity's doing so while you're mindful of the kidnappings that the entity has committed under the fake sun. You're mindful of all the demons that are gang stalking me by the Ontario Police day and night in the same specific environment. You're mindful of everything at the same time. You're mindful of the entity that engaged in what is relying on this criminal activity to then submit it in court. She was arrested on this date. She has this case. Remember what Tracy Banks is talking about on May 29, 2025. This is what she's relying on. Oh, she has a case. She has a case. She's referring to kidnappings that she committed. This is what they rely on. The Ontario Police are being disbanded. This is what Jason Fields relies on. They're relying on this while they're in a court targeting me, while they're engaged in this ongoing gang stalking. Is supposed to be a campaign for mental illness against a targeted individual. When I say that Mike Lorenz is done, every person employed by the Ontario, they're all out of a job and they're done with law enforcement. And the entity, all of them gang stalking under the fake sun, including the kidnapper Corey Watson. The entity that's gang stalking are Guerrero, they're stalking and kidnapping with San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. San Bernardino County, because they engage in kidnapping as Ontario Police change hands and give me over to West Valley, which is a kidnapping while they're engaging in surveillance. Already on the record, June 16, 2022. The entities engaging in this conduct with San Bernardino County, who crosses path, psychologically torturing me while they failed in establishing mental illness, which is not the practice of medicine. That's not how you diagnose mental illness, by gang stalking someone. And it's also an illegitimate basis, an unconstitutional basis to, as I've shown, being targeted. That's not establishing mental illness, number one. And it is also not constitutional when the entities engaged in targeting, like the City of Ontario, like the Ontario Police Department, like the San Bernardino County Sheriff, like the targeting courthouse that never told me about property that these demons are trying to steal from me via gang stalking, that the entity never told me about these court hearings, and you know that because the United States Postal Service is targeting me. That's why the Ontario Police are stalking me by helicopter and by commercial planes, and doing so under the fake sun and with ridiculously impossible light inside of the post office, which is illustrative, letting you know that United States Postal Service, which I have a body of evidence of them targeting me, have been engaged in for years. That's not some random anomaly that I didn't get notice about court hearings pertaining to property that belongs to me while I just so happen to be subject to gang stalking, which is a failed effort in criminally defaming anyone, which is what my evidence shows. You can't defame anybody by gang stalking them, let alone me. It has nothing to do with the mental health of the targeted individual. Even if they haven't existed, so like I've stated before, say someone's diagnosed with bipolar, or say someone's diagnosed with, say they've stated in the past that they have depression or something, anything. They could say they have Down syndrome. Say the target individual has Down syndrome. The entity that is stalking you by under the fake sun and an engineered light in the specific environment is going to be prosecuted with the evidence of stalking you under a fake sun amongst engineered light by the government acting directly and vicariously. It has nothing to do, and you will never be criminally defamed by the mental illness of the entity that is targeting you. The entity is only engaging in this and relying on this because it's corrupt. That is not the practice of medicine. That's not logical. That is also not the practice of medicine. That's also not lawful. It's not legal. There's no reasoning in that. Because the gang members say so, so it is? No, I don't think so. So I've had to show you the corruption of the medical field. I've had to show you the corruption of the legal field. I've had to show you the corruption of law enforcement. I've had to show you the corruption of the population, the entity itself. I've had to show you the corruption of businesses, the entity itself. And the entity is doing so with regard to what is an unsuccessful endeavor, and it's very unsuccessful when that same entity provides evidence about what you were doing in court. So while San Bernardino County is stalking and Ontario police are stalking, which the target individual captured, you're in court telling us that San Bernardino County has a diagnosis for mental illness for Tracy Banks, but you're targeting her. It's within a body of evidence that you're targeting her, and you're engaged in an ongoing effort to psychologically torture her, which is not going to cause, it's not working. There's nothing else to tell you other than these demons are literally desperate, and they provided more evidence against themselves. Who's going to federal prison? The demons with San Bernardino County? I believe her name is Monique. She's going to prison. 8PQ B803. Guerrero and the demons at the OVITT Family Community Library, that's just one. She's on video. She's in images. She's gang stalking on June 16, 2022. That's why they're going to federal prison. San Bernardino County is only summoned there because they're a part of what is a defamation campaign, while the entity is in the background relying on criminal activity by this entity to then submit it in court. That's why Jason Fields is going to prison. He ain't no husband of mine. I would never marry a homosexual. I would never be involved with someone that's having sex with my mom. I will never be involved with somebody that submits to Satan. I will never be involved with a criminal. He's a thief. He's a criminal. He's a lowlife. And I would never be involved with anyone that would try to force me to do anything against my will. All right? This is somebody that has a fraudulent marriage on paper and relied on this very criminal conduct to talk about it in court, to have a judge, which again, that's not giving a gang stalking judge any legal argument. They're targeting together. They're targeting together because I wasn't in the courtroom. So if I'm so mentally ill, I should have been in that court. I should have been there either consenting to or resisting. Regardless, I should have been there, though. That's a due process right. The entity is engaging in this, and that it is clearly, absurdly corrupt. But I just want to break down what it is that they're doing and how they do it. So the entity targets you, and then the entity creates a paper trail. All of it is of criminal conduct, and relies on that criminal conduct, like you've heard Tracy Banks getting excited. Ooh, she has a case. She has a case. This demon is engaging in what is referring to the kidnappings that she is going to be prosecuted for. There's no case against me. I've never been a criminal. There's also no mental illness. There's never been any mental health issues or concerns or prescriptions or history whatsoever. Pristine. That's why I'm prosecuting them now. And I prosecuted every aspect of the entity. The entity's going to prison for what you just listened to me document. That's why I broke apart that documentation. I want to stop there because I don't want it to be lost in the midst of the documentation. It's at the very end, so you can hear that license plate, and you'll see those images with regard to the time, because the entity relied on the criminal activity of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, who are targeting. That's not just a mishap. It's not a mistake by the Sheriff's Department. It's within a pattern of conduct. They're documented under the fake sun as well. It's the same thing with the entity gang stalking by the police department, surrounded by evidence. Surrounded by evidence. There's no mistake. They're already, that's moot. They're surrounded with evidence. The entity that's doing so with the people of the state, I've shown you, the entity's gang stalking. This is what you have the randomness of. And by randomness, I mean you can pick a third party, any third party. Economy Inn, targeting. Starbucks, targeting. OVITT Family Community Library, targeting. Kidnapping at all those venues. The entity is engaging in this together while they're falsely making false allegations against the entity, targeting with the demons who you already know, the Ontario Police Department, and so is the Sheriff's Department, and so is the entity that seeks to defame your character, not only by making false allegations, not only by engaging in what is a kidnapping and making up criminal charges, but not only by housing you in a facility where they are then throwing you into the ward. How does an arrest for interfering with an ongoing investigation, which is farcical, they made it up, but how does that turn into we're keeping you in the ward? Okay, this is an entity that has conspired at the outset to defame your character. That's what Shannon Dykes has committed, and it's on the record, okay? This Jason Knighton's going to federal prison. There's no statute of limitations. Lester Key's going to federal prison. Everybody that S. Patty's going to prison. June 18, 2021, she's kidnapping at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts under the fake sun. Same entity going to federal prison, the entity that's stalking right now, and then they are the ones that are thinking, you're only thinking about right now, and right now is being documented as well. What are they doing when they're kidnapping on June 18, 2021? S. Patty's going to prison. What are they doing on September 25th, 2020 at Economy Inn? They're going to federal prison. That's Abe Morris, Corporal Kemp, they're going to federal prison. And that's just the Ontario Police. The gang stalking deputies, I put a plethora of them on my website. Shannon Dykes is the demon that's over that department, who's engaged in criminal surveillance and repeatedly kidnapping me. Engaging in what is a battery, putting drugs in my body against my will while you're kidnapping me. Engaging in bearing all manner of what is a threat to my well-being, to my health, against my will while you're kidnapping me. That is, again, by force, forcing you into what is the ward area while they're kidnapping you, forcing you into that uniform to make you look like a patient while they're kidnapping you, and then forcing drugs into your body while they're kidnapping you, trying to make you, that's what the entity is doing, trying to force, they're kidnapping and forcing you into that status while Tracy Banks and Jason Fields are engaging in what is campaigning against my reputation, which they're using this criminal activity. They're all going to federal prison. I kid you not. The Ontario Police Department is done. These are idiots that would ever be engaged in anything that would ever remotely help at any iota. They're idiots for doing that. You're going to prison. A. Morris is going to prison. Corporal Kemp is going to federal prison September 25th, 2020. This is the criminal activity that they were engaged in, criminal monitoring. All right, the entity is engaging in kidnapping at May 29, 2025, Tracy Banks, C. Torres, L. Martinez, Nathan Morgan, B. Hook. This is what they were engaging in, criminal summoning with the entity gang stalking, already at Woodside Senior Apartments, and engaged in kidnapping at the venue on more than one occasion, including Tommy Allen Banks. Defaming my character in the courthouse, you're going to federal prison. I don't care if you are in North Carolina, wherever that demon is at, you're going to federal prison. Be prepared to get picked up. You're going to federal prison. The entity is engaged in this conduct with this entity and did so with San Bernardino County, who shares in that. So I want to make sure that you are cognizant of everything that I just documented. And there's analysis to show you what was going on then with regard to what they're doing right now, because that's what they were doing then with regard to what they're doing now. And what they're doing now is relevant to what is manufacturing a criminal record that doesn't exist. They made it up while they were kidnapping. Kidnapping is a part of the gang stalking system. Defamation is a part of the gang stalking system. And those that sat in that courthouse and the judge that listened to it, while I'm not present, and the entity is engaging in relying upon this, they're going to federal prison. Okay, that's P.O.C. All right, doing so again, it's 12:52 p.m. There is no sun over 333 North Euclid Avenue, where Alex Escobar is gang stalking under the fake sun at 333 North Euclid Avenue. The fake sun is over me where the Ontario police are stalking at 1841 East East G Street. The demons are stalking at the driveway, stalking in the path, license 7DHD523 and license 48746Y1, stalking together, crossing path, and the entity is maintaining another vehicle in the middle of the street with flashing light, peculiarized light. This is the entity that is pacing over me. Remember, 333 North Euclid Avenue? And I am at 1841 East G Street, license 7NND53, stalking where the entity is maintaining the fake sun. Alex Escobar, the Ontario Police Department, is going to federal prison. He's gang stalking under the 12:52 p.m. fake sun at Euclid Avenue and D Street, where I'm present at that intersection at 7 in the morning, 7:15, where the Ontario police are shown to be demons who have been targeting for years, engaging in ongoing kidnapping, while Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields have been engaging in what is a defamatory campaign to steal my money via defamation, criminal defamation, which is what I have expounded upon with understanding this surveillance system where the Ontario police are being disbanded. And you're looking at their disregard for constitutional rights, for human rights, for even having an appearance of legitimacy. It is the absolute stupidity of those who are very severely mentally inept, okay? Disqualification from law enforcement by virtue of that. And so then you're also mindful, I'm exposing this. All these demons that are on EVERHOME suites, they're all gang stalking. They're not engaged in construction. They're engaged in facilitation while this demon is sitting in the middle of the road with their flashers on under a fake sun at 12. It is currently 12, where I capture all that, that'll be uploaded. Where I capture all that at 12:54 p.m. where the fake sun's remaining over me. And don't forget, the entity is keeping the fake sun over Tracy Banks that's relying on the criminal activity. She was relying on the Ontario police to establish me as a criminal with San Bernardino County to try to establish me as being mentally ill while she has a whole secret conservatorship. And there is no amount of criminal activity and targeting by the police that is helping her or that department. They're going to prison. BZP1529, that's an old biddy, a Caucasian one, a homosexual with an Arizona plate, stalking a woman, obsessed with a woman, conspiring another person's murder and doing so in gang stalking. All right, the elderly are domestic terrorists and they're violent sex offenders and they are pedophiles the same, and they serve Satan. That's the reality of what this entity is engaging in. It's demonic, and that's getting to that root wicked behavior, which is the manifest criminal activity. It's exposing public corruption, which the city of Ontario is engaging in. And the entity is also engaging in this conduct while don't forget the Ontario police and the entity is stalking while the entity is keeping the fake sun over me on this day at the Key Point, 9750 Key Point in Hesperia. The fake sun's over that Holiday Inn. plane, and I documented it from sunrise until after sunset, after 6 p.m. That's where the entity is stalking by plane and helicopter in a remarkably, so detailed, it's so precise because of its impossibility, that it would be anything other than clear identification of targeting me, okay? And the entity is targeting with regard to theft of property. That's relevant to motive, why are you targeting, and how do you know who I am? Because they're engaged in surveillance, and surveillance is relevant to what they are. They're demons, and they also engage in this, and it's putting all the demons that engage in kidnapping, everybody that put their hands on me, poisoning my body while you're forcing me into a uniform and forcing me into a certain area into that jail while you are engaging in kidnapping. And Shannon Dykes did not accidentally do that. He did not coincidentally do that with the entity of the Ontario Police, gang stalking, criminally defame. He's not accidentally, coincidentally doing that with the people of the state, like Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields and Eric Spencer, Carrie Heberlin, Ariana Lopez, seeking to criminally defame. That's a part of the pattern of conduct that Shannon Dykes is engaging in. And Jason Fields is going to federal prison for everything that you're listening to. Everything. That it remains underway. That I remain a transient while this entity stole my money and property. There's no investigation. The entity engages in more of it, by the way, as I document, which is what the Ontario Police are doing. The Ontario Fire Department is doing. The more that I document, the more that they engage in this delusional conduct. Not only is surveillance exposed, but the entity tried to murder me and steal from me in doing so, and necessarily did so by trying to establish some sort of manufactured form of mental illness. And my evidence shows not only is that preposterous, this is a system that will never create or establish mental illness on behalf of anybody, ever. This does not establish mental illness. The entity is actually mentally ill, though. Stalking in a helicopter, you're stalking under a fake sun. You're flying around the fake sun that's over my head. I've documented the department stalking me under this fake sun while they use another helicopter on another day at a different location, irreconcilable with what I already documented. For example, Alex Escobar, Corey Watson, the entity that is stalking in this specific environment. They're going to prison, because they're stalking me in furtherance of my murder. These are gang stalking police officers, an oxymoron to be dealt with as domestic terrorism. And they're doing so while they're engaging in that documented federal offense to psychologically torture. They're doing so pursuant to knowledge of the evidence as it's being captured. That's why the Ontario Police Department are flying over me in helicopter while the fake sun is over me at 1841 East G Street, where it's still present after 4 p.m., where it was not present even yesterday. And the entity is engaging in what is stalking. It was not present on this day in 2024 at this time of year, for example, at Alvarado Gardens, where the Los Angeles Police Department is maintaining ongoing surveillance by helicopter in the same absurdly demonic manner, because they're seeking to psychologically torture, harass, and terrorize. And you're not supposed to be able to know that they're stalking one person in a helicopter, so that's supposed to mean, oh, they're paranoid. No, you're going to prosecute. That's malice, and the evidence is showing the entity targeting. The entity is doing it with regard to what it is that I'm referring to, though, and that's relevant to every other gang stalker of the Ontario Police who are gang stalking literally in furtherance of committing murder. You're going to prison for that. Okay, as a corrupt police officer that I documented under the fake sun, Alex Escobar. The same time, while your partner is stalking me in a helicopter, you're going to federal prison for it. And I documented this over and over and over again. The entity is keeping the fake sun, by the way, where the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is stalking under the fake sun over Tracy Banks' apartment in its zenith over my head. In San Bernardino County, that is Shannon Dykes going out of its way to go to a senior citizen complex to stalk me under a fake sun, which I'm showing at the same time that Alex Escobar is stalking at the Euclid Avenue U.S. Bank at the same time, where the entity is keeping that fake sun, as I'm showing you inside of the OVITT Family Community Library through that window of the ceiling over the staircase at the same time, where the entity is keeping that fake sun while I am at the West Valley Detention Center. This is evidence showing you what is stalking under a fake sun, which is exactly what the Ontario Police are doing right now, which I document with them doing with San Bernardino County, who is engaged in an ongoing failed campaign of defaming my character. The entity thinks, the gang members think that if they say it, then it's the truth. And that's why you have the entity, the corrupt entity, those who are in the medical field, defaming the character of American citizens. And because those gang members, those demons, those psychopaths, those engaging in criminal surveillance of San Bernardino County in the medical field say so, that's what they believe is going to, and it's not. It's exposing it, and you're also going to federal prison for every time you're engaged in criminal defamation. You win in court, and you defame my character on paper and use your job, your license, your training in doing so. You're losing that job, license, training, and you're also losing your freedom. You're going to prison. And these demons are providing evidence against each other because it's giving you relevant context regarding what they were doing, the motivation behind them doing that, and how they were engaging in executing this corrupt system, which is absurdly idiotic because they're all under a fake sun showing that they're all targeting me. All of them. And Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields are going to prison. So is everybody else that engaged in what is defaming my character while they're engaging in the same pattern of conduct. At the same time, there's no investigation by the federal government. Jason Fields is going to prison. And Jason Fields is also going to prison because while I put the evidence on the internet, then they go behind and try to remove it off the internet. That's what I documented this morning. The podcast from August 25th, 2025, published everywhere, including on YouTube, and it was rendered private so that you can't see it. Okay? So it not only did I try to make it public, the entity removed it off of the RSS feed. I did not do that. And it's not a failure. This is a product of what the Ontario Police Department is doing right now, monitoring. Okay? The entities engaged in what is monitoring. Monitoring under existing federal law is surveillance under Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. And this is what, again, also why Jason Isaac is going to federal prison. And every gang stalking demon of the Ontario Police Department. And again, it will include A. Morris, and that's just to begin because I've documented them stalking me under the fake sun, claiming that, oh, I met you before I know your name, and I document that. They're lying demons. Everybody whose name I know, as you hear me clearly reciting them, because I don't forget those demons, and their audible activity is admitting to knowledge of who I am when I've never physically encountered them, or at least never had a conversation, because I document their names, because I use them as examples when I get their partners incriminating them, stalking me under the fake sun at a different location, showing that they're stalking as demons, engaging in psychological torture in furtherance of murder. The entity is gang stalking under this fake sun, and A. Morris is going to federal prison, S. Patty is going to federal prison, Jason Knighton, Lester Keys, and S. Patty. The entity is engaging in C. Scatel S. These are the demons that are documented engaging in what are kidnapping as the Ontario Police Department, and they're doing so with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and they decided to engage in stalking twice. I'm documenting twice, flying over my head where the fake sun is remaining, in a manner that's clearly shown. This is specific to where I'm at. This is an entity that's surveilling. Rusty Krusty, license 7XPK283, stalking with the City of Ontario, concentrating plane activity right here on Vineyard, concentrating helicopter activity over my head, pacing and using the entity that engaged in criminally defaming my character in order to accomplish murder, and also to aid in Jason Isaac Fields' fraudulent marriage in order to steal from me, and Tracy Banks's and Jason Isaac Fields' secret conservatorship, fraudulent conservatorship to steal from me. While the entity that you're listening to them documented gang stalking me right now, this is what the entity engaged on, and then this is what these eager demons, this ignoramus, because I'm not going to be, she's an ignoramus though. She has a case. She has a case. The case is evidence of the entity targeting me. The entity engages in what is kidnapping when you document them. That's what Ocean's going to federal prison for at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. Okay? Engaging what is obstruction of justice. Vacillating. Is it because I didn't buy anything? Even though I buy something every single day at that Starbucks, by the way. Even the demon Tracy Banks will go in there and volunteer. I didn't ask that demon to come around, but I documented it. It's on the record. She would come in, gang stalking. Oh, do you want this? Do you want that? She's not being helpful. She's monitoring, just like she's in her apartment. She's not, and why am I there? I'm exposed to it because I'm documenting her, because she's going to prison. Okay? She arrived at that Starbucks putting money on a gift card, and I did not ask her for anything, but you want to put money on a gift card? Sure, go ahead, Satan. I'm documenting her. It doesn't matter what she can go there talking about, she's talking about everything other than what matters. The fact that she has a secret conservatorship, she's been engaged in a sexual relationship, which is inherently conflicting for Jason Isaac Fields. Abusing a government position was on behalf of somebody that he has a sexual relationship with. He's interested in the property itself, while he is defaming my character, having a relationship with me to a degree as a fake friend, but this is not what he's exposing, while he's engaged in a pattern of conduct of gang stalking, relying upon the corrupt conduct of the Ontario Police, of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, who are targeting me with him. He's literally in that court defaming my character while they are together engaging in that, and then he is doubling as somebody that's in the court. He's supposed to be reliable because of his position. That's corruption. He's sitting in there defaming my character, interested in theft of my property, maintaining a marriage to me. No, he's not. He's a thief. He's a murderer. He conspired my death, and that's why he maintained a fraudulent marriage to me while the Ontario Police are repeatedly kidnapping, which he intends to profit off of. All right? Oh, yeah, she's crazy, and she can't hold on to her property. I'm her husband. Go ahead. I'll take that. That's what this demon planned on. I'll take that. He's going to prison. He's going to federal prison. He's also engaged in federal stalking while the entity removes my evidence about him off of the internet. That's federal stalking committed with the intent to obstruct justice, while the entity is targeting me by a whole demon-possessed psychopathic police department and a population, which is a threat to my life. Jason Fields is going to prison, and so is his sex partner, who gets far too excited about criminal activity that she's getting prosecuted for. Ooh, she has a case. This is what this demon was saying on May 29, 2025. That's criminal activity that she's going to prison for. That was a criminal act. All these demons that get excited about the arrest that happened on July 4, 2025, you're going to prison for that. There's nothing to be excited about. That is evidence that's not helping the demons. There's no competition with Christ Jesus. There is none. You lost. You are the ignoramuses that are stalking in a helicopter when the federal government is watching and the world already knows what you're doing and what are you accomplishing. The demons of San Bernardino County, they're going to federal prison. You're not just engaging in what is mistaking me as a client when you thought this. No, you didn't. You're engaged in a system-wide P.O.C. That's why San Bernardino County is crossing paths with Ontario police. Honey, that's not accomplishing psychologically torturing me. I am very much in control of all of my wits, and I'm legally analyzing it so that you recognize the greater pattern. So those demons engaging in criminal defamation and kidnapping like June 16, 2022, that demon is going to federal prison. All right? And she was particularly rude and disrespectful, by the way, on June 16, 2022, which is why she got the treatment that she got on June 16, 2022. And any person, by the way, would be perturbed, to say the least, when you are being defamed. What are you even doing here? When they're, again, San Bernardino County, what are you even doing here when the entity is gang stalking me in the first place? But this is the absurdity of the entity that's engaging in gang conduct, and if they say it, then the federal prosecution is going to blast everybody out of their alternate universe. That's literally what's happening, okay? But again, the entity that is gang stalking, this is the entity that gets too excited about what is a defeat, okay? An epic one, okay? The entity is surrounding with peculiarized light, sitting in the middle of the street like I documented Vector doing. This is ongoing light activity, and the entity is doing so. This is license 4GB7097. The entity is gang stalking with the maintenance of peculiarized light surrounding me, and that surrounding conduct is shown and proven through what is the fake sun, okay? That's letting you know the context of what is the intent to surround with light activity, which is always occurring in that specific environment. That's relevant to psychological torture and harassment terrorism. The entity that is engaging in what is torturing you through their pattern of conduct by a population of demons that are obsessively stalking and monitoring you. It's also the entity that's exhibiting mental illness. This obsession with this light activity, it's relevant because they're monitoring on devices, they're in engineer light, but you're going to analyze the behavior of any person, just like you with the entity that wants to criminally defame. Well, the entity is exposing its own mental illness while it's gang stalking. And the entity engages in this pattern while they're engaging in what is criminal monitoring, which is relevant to the gang stalking conduct that you just listened to, and you'll see, because I have images of it, of the Ontario Police Department engaging in. A law enforcement agency that is not engaged in what is law enforcement. They're engaged in stalking and monitoring, and they're doing so in furtherance of murder. They're doing so while the entity is being documented. They know, meaning they decided to do it on the record while they are being documented for it at the same time. Those are the imbeciles that Tracy Banks relies on, that Jason Isaac Fields relies on in targeting me. That's the entity that is, again, woefully unprepared for the comprehensive exposure of surveillance in the United States and a prosecution for it. And this is all happening at RAMADA by WYNDHAM, okay? This is P.O.C. This is where the fake sun is remaining. Remember yesterday, August 25th, 2025, the fake sun, not only did it remain over the opposite side of the street, the entity tried to cover it up, and then the same gang stalkers of the Ontario Police are stalking in a helicopter, delusional. The entity keeps the fake sun on the opposite side of the street today, and at this time, I am already at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, the fake sun over the Starbucks, okay? And then that's just looking at what the entity is doing day to day with regard to stalking, which is the clear evidence of what is stalking in the environment, the inconsistency of that environment. And then there's all angles. You're looking at the same time of year analysis, what's happening on this day in 2024. What's happening at this time of year is still relevant to what LAPD is doing in LA. What the entity is keeping a fake sun all summer while I'm at Alvarado Gardens until I resign in July of 2024. This is still relevant to what the entity is doing. Keep the fake sun from sunrise till sunset on Euclid Avenue. And now sunrise to sunset off of G Street, East G Street at Vineyard. Where the entity does not extend it beyond the Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue and 1841 East G Street. This is the absurdity of what the entity, don't forget about where the fake sun was setting, because that's letting you know that these demons are engaging in what is stalking, surrounding conduct. That's terrorism by corrupt businesses, okay? That's relevant to the federal RICO case against the entirety of that entity. That's an extraordinary case. Okay, the entity is engaging in this while this is a statewide pattern of conduct. So this is including all of those politicians, the people that you vote for, the public officials that are in office, those that are celebrities, they live in California. They are engaging in this satanic targeting system. They know who I am. You're concerned about, can I get their autograph? These are demons that are in the state of California, and they're monitoring me. All right, they're engaged in monitoring with regard to what is spiritually significant. They are the demon possessed that prey upon those that are of that are not of that spiritual darkness, of that condition. And they also do so because they presuppose that you're weak or something, because you're not of the gangs of that demon. That demons occupy. And what you're looking at is all the demons need each other, and all the demons together are defeated. So flying over my head in helicopter did not help A. Morris. That did not help Corporal Kemp. It does not help Alex Escobar. It does not help C. Hazelwood and Owens. It does not help C. Torres and Jason Knighton, Lester Keys. It doesn't help S. Patty. It does not help Officer Cho of the Ontario Police, which he's going to federal prison. He engaged in kidnapping. It doesn't help the demons gang stalking of L. Martinez, B. Hook, and Nathan Morgan. It doesn't help any of them. All of those demons, and that's just off the top of my brain. They're going to prison. The demons gang stalking of the Ontario Police, they are stalking as gang stalking police officers, bearing weapons and exercising authority that they don't have while they're stalking me, while the entity's trying to accomplish murder, while the entity's trying to manufacture mental illness via gang stalking by this same department. And this demon trace, she has a case. That case is evidence to prosecute the state of California. It was a criminal act, and it doesn't establish mental illness. And the laws are going to change, because this is what the entity that's engaged in surveillance is also the entity that engages in targeting in order to try to steal, like I've shown you. And this is a failed effort in doing so. And Tracy Banks and Jason Fields are going to prison. Their co-defendants are providing evidence about what they've been doing for years: a fake marriage and a fake conservatorship, relying on the criminal activity of the entity that is targeting me through this police department. And with the same San Bernardino County that engaged in what is criminal defamation, abusing their position with behavioral health. And their behavioral health is at issue while they're gang stalking. Imagine that. The entity is engaging in this, and it is the evidence against itself, okay? This is P.O.C. The entity is stalking by maintenance of ongoing plane activity. The Ontario Airport Inn is gang stalking at 1801 East G Street. License 87245Y3 is gang stalking, so is Amazon license 08585Y3. Amazon has been engaged in stalking in the path, monitoring in the path with light activity, the peculiarized light. Amazon Prime hires demons. They're stalking and targeting with the city of Los Angeles, with the city of Costa Mesa, with the city of Ontario, with the city of Fontana. They're engaging in this is a corrupt business that's engaged in targeting specifically with LAPD while they're monitoring me inside of my home, engaging in gang stalking together as I document Amazon, and then Amazon would arrive, deliver a package, and the entity will stalk me with helicopter activity over my apartment at the same time. The entity keeping the fake sun over my apartment. This is already on the record. Amazon Prime molesting me with impossible light activity while they are targeting as a matter of history, engaging in what is assault with a deadly weapon because they're so obsessively gang stalking on the roads and the highways, running a red light and almost hitting me with the vehicle. This is documented on the record. This is what the entity is sharing, and while the entity is engaged in criminal summoning while I document Amazon Prime. And this is, again, the conduct of Bezos. Bezos is not ignorant. Bezos is a billionaire making money off of gang stalking, criminal monitoring. License 1271810. That's the Ontario Fire and American Medical Response under the fake sun that moved to the opposite side of the street. All right, the entity is gang stalking, so let me show you. That's the fake sun moves as I move, and I'll show you the entity that is indeed targeting. You'll see RAMADA on the opposite side of the street, and that's where the entity is targeting, going to the facilitating venues that are next to me while the fake sun's over me. Those are demons that manifest. While they're using ambulances and fire trucks, that's light activity, audible activity, and relevant positioning. Okay, those are the demons that listen to the damning evidence. When I talk about something damning, like Amazon Prime being prosecuted civilly and criminally, targeting me with multiple cities, multiple municipalities, multiple law enforcement agencies, because that's exactly what's on the record already, and that's enough to put Jason Fields and Tracy Banks in prison. That's the entity that's targeting you with the government and the people of the state. That's what Starbucks is doing. Interchange the company names Starbucks and Amazon Prime. Corrupt businesses. All right, that's the P.O.C. And the entity is doing so. That's American Medical Response, that's gang stalking. That's Ontario Fire, that's gang stalking. You're looking at bigger picture. At 11, when I'm inside of my hotel room, the fake sun is at the same position, okay? The entity is in gang stalking. I'm showing you all angles. KFC is gang stalking, 1851 East G Street. Ontario Police is gang stalking while the entity is surrounding with the fire truck on the opposite side. The drive-through and the demons that use the dumpster truck as flashing light. This is P.O.C. All right, this is so pathetic. This is the entity, though. You're going to pay attention to the timing. Pay attention to the timing. As I discussed, Amazon Prime's very heavily documented pattern of conduct. Molesting me with impossible light activity, that's a sex offender. And this is what Bezos has been engaged in. Bezos that you see celebrating a lot of wealth and success, he's successful off of criminal surveillance. All right, he hires demons. He's engaged in monitoring. It's a government program. He helps the government in surveillance. And as you document that, that's the entity engaged in more criminal activity. They start sounding the sirens. They start surrounding at all angles. They have the 2 vehicles surrounding me. Now the demons at the as I move, that fake sun moves. It's no longer on the same side in front of the RAMADA by WYNDHAM. You'll see it in the images. That fake sun moves immediately as I move, and so do the demons stalking. That's the city of Ontario. Paul Leon being removed while the demons using a dumpster truck are stalking in the path with flashing light. The demons that are stalking by getting in a drive-through to surround in the path. The demons that are stalking as a corrupt business such as Amazon Prime. The demons that are stalking using ambulances and fire trucks. And by the way, at 11, it's currently 1:16 p.m. where the entity was monitoring my vagina as I'm getting out of the shower. The Ontario Fire Department crossing path, I took images of that fake sun was over the top of my head in the same manner that it is now. That was 2 hours ago. I'm on the same street. I'm looking at the same building where the Ontario Fire just engaged in what I've already defined to you. Criminal summoning. Doing so while they're listening to what it is that I'm speaking of. They're engaged in surveillance, and then they engage, oh, let's sound the sirens now. Let's go now, because she's talking about Amazon Prime, stalking with LAPD, stalking with Costa Mesa PD, stalking with Ontario PD, stalking in with every city that as I'm referring to that. That's when they start sounding their sirens. And that's when the fake sun moves over me as I cross the street. The fake sun that's over my head as I'm inside of my hotel room, and Michael Gerken is keeping my vagina under surveillance while demons are stalking in a fire truck. That ridiculous and wildly obsessive and demented conduct is underway by a whole fire department. The whole fire department full of pedophiles. They're also sex offenders that engage in gang stalking, surveillance, not firefighting. Okay, and where are they going to, by the way, with the emergency? Oh, they're going to a venue that's engaged in surveillance. Okay, and it's the same thing with regard to the entity that's gang stalking with police. Who are the police pulling over? Oh, license 9HTE063. The demons that are engaging in surveillance. That's the P.O.C. And the evidence surrounds every single aspect of what they do. Officer Cho engaged in kidnapping with the Ontario Fire Department in August of 2019. He's going to prison. He's going to federal prison. The entities are relying on this while they're engaged in that P.O.C. There's no coincidence vehicle 1057 crosses path under the fake sun. The entity's going to prison. What are you winning? You're going to federal prison. You're being disbanded. What are you winning? That's Satan. That's the spirit of Satan that's caused a human person's mind. Literally, it's down the toilet. They're not sane. That's why they're stalking me with impossible light activity. That's why they're stalking as a whole police department under a fake sun. What is wrong with your mind? Okay, you're stalking me. You gassed up that vehicle to drive by me because you're bothered by what you're listening to me say, because you don't like hearing me embarrass the whole department because they're all stalkers. They're not engaged in law enforcement. That's what's wrong with the Ontario Police Department. They're going to be disbanded for kidnapping. Again, not helping when the Ontario police are stalking while the fake sun on the opposite side of the street, and they're flying over me on the side of the street where that fake sun is located, and they're engaged in doing so while demons like A. Morris, Corporal Kemp, you have the demons of S. Patty, Lester Keys, Jason Knighton, the entity that's engaging in kidnapping, including S. Patty on June 18, 2021. The entity that's engaged, and she's not kidnapping by herself, but she's engaged in more than one kidnapping with the Ontario police. She's going to federal prison. She's going to federal prison. She's been engaged in gang stalking, and so she engaged in kidnapping on a particular day, which I documented. And this is all that the department is engaging in, and they repeatedly engage in kidnapping, and that's what they also then use to submit in a criminal act committed by a corrupt court that uses the criminal conduct of kidnapping by this department to establish a criminal record, mental illness, with the entity that it is targeting with. That's the entity that engages in that. Okay, that's the entity that's going to be shut down. That's the Ontario Police Department, license 7KWT275. That looks like a Latino male that's stalking with the Ontario Police Department. Okay, now they're pacing on the same street where the fake sun remains. As I documented, Ontario Fire engaged in criminal summoning this morning during the 11 a.m. hour. It is 1:19 p.m. Recall the documentation of the group of demons that are going to federal prison at the OVITT Family Community Library on video at 1:07 p.m. as I came from where Ocean is going to be federally prosecuted for kidnapping. The Ontario Euclid Avenue, 507 North Euclid Avenue venue, where the fake sun remained over me. And then the fake sun remained over me as I walked south on Euclid Avenue, where then I documented what is the fake sun remaining over me as I arrive at the OVITT Family Community Library, as opposed to it already being over the OVITT Family Community Library at 10 o'clock, 10:17 in the morning to be exact, when that same Ontario Police Department is gang stalking by helicopter, flying in circles over me for 20 minutes. The demons that are on video at 1:07 p.m. at the OVITT Family Community Library, I believe it's June 25th, June 27th, one of those days at 1:07, they're gang stalking at the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library, and they're doing so while that fake sun remains over me as I come to arrive at that venue. That is, the fake sun is remaining over me like it is now as I walk to that venue on Euclid Avenue, and that department is stalking, just like it is now, and doing so pursuant to what is a body of evidence surrounding them stalking me, and doing so pursuant to what is kidnappings committed by demons like S. Patty, Lester Keys, Jason Knighton, A. Morris, C. Torres, L. Martinez, Alex Escobar, A. Casada, B. Hook, and Nathan Morgan, if I didn't say that name already. Those are demons that are engaged in gang stalking. And a body of evidence that is proving that not only are they psychopathic, they're sex offenders that are engaged in what is this pedophilia industry. They're engaged in what is gang stalking me to help Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Phillips with a fraudulent marriage and a secret conservatorship to try to steal from me. And that's why they're being disbanded, okay? And it's a part of a greater controversy, which you need to know, that the state of California is engaged in criminal surveillance, and so is the rest of this country. Because the fake sun that's remaining over me over the top of my head right now, first of all, it's not over in the natural environment, over me at the OVITT Family Community Library, where the Ontario police are engaging in a very heavily documented tactic of psychological torture, for which they're going to prison, because they're doing that in furtherance of the conspiracy to murder me, so that Tracy Banks and Jason Phillips can have sex on money and in property that belongs to me. All right, so they can have their sex rituals and practice witchcraft amongst paper and again paid for by me, 6GKY254. And they thought that I was going to be kept against my will. They thought that I was going to be defamed, discarded, so that nobody would believe that 8WLX960 is a homosexual, demon-possessed, gang-stalking psychopath who was stalking me as an entity. Because you're not supposed to believe that. I'm supposed to be falsely depicted, and that psychopath is supposed to be the gang member that you're going to listen to. Oh, I don't know her, and I've never met her, and I no speak English, okay? That's the entity that's engaged in the P.O.C. That's the entity that's engaged, it's called malice, and the entity is very highly unintelligent. The entity is doing so, again, with knowledge, real-time knowledge. That's the entity that's been stalking and kidnapping for years. That's the entity that Tracy Banks gets, ooh, she has a case. Yeah, those cases that she's referring to is criminal activity that she's engaged in with this department that put her in prison and put itself in prison and disbanded itself. Because there's one thing for me to document and make the allegations, it's another for you to be stupid enough to engage in it, for me to document and put it all over the internet and prosecute you there, and also prosecute you in court. That's a whole other level of stupidity. But that's letting you know, again, the level of obsession and delusion. It is very real mental illness, and it is a threat to the public. And no psychopath, no sex offender, no pedophile, no kidnappers, no people that actually hate the United States and the Constitution and the ideals and principles that it stands for has any business in law enforcement. Okay? Or engaging with the Ontario Police Department are masquerading as law enforcement so that you are supposed to be confused by it. License 30069X3, gang stalking through the drive-thru of KFC. Stalking in the path. All right? So their buildup of business, 1:23 p.m., several cars lining up, they're monitoring based on where I'm standing, which is where you'll see the fake sun in alignment to the demons in the drive-thru, which is where the City of Ontario went to empty the trash, stalking in the path while the entity engaged in sounding those sirens. As I refer to you, heavily documented conduct that base house is engaged in. You need to understand these demons have no devotion, loyalty to the United States at all. They make money, and they're engaged in monitoring a whole comprehensive system of surveillance where people are murdered and kidnapped. And this is what the corrupt law enforcement agencies are engaged in. And this is what Tracy Banks and Jason Phillips thought that they were going to execute against me, and nobody would ever know about it. And that was the biggest mistake of their life. They're both going to prison. Okay? As surely as I'm here at what is 1820 East G Street, and the fake sun is over the same position because the RAMADA by WYNDHAM is on the opposite side of the same street. So the fake sun's in the same position that it is when I'm documenting it at 10:13 in the morning. Don't forget about that. I just documented at 10:13 in the morning when the entity is supposed to have the sun in the natural environment so that the demons of the Ontario Police Department don't go to federal prison for stalking me by helicopter at the OVITT Family Community Library under a fake sun, where they're still at that Ontario Police is gang stalking at that OVITT Family County Community Library at 1:07 p.m. where it would be, and not over my head right now at 1:24 p.m., exceeding what is 1:07 p.m., which is what I document on video because the government is corrupt and gang members presuppose if they say it, then that's what goes. No, not when there's evidence that you're corrupt, that you're engaging in what is targeting an American citizen and doing so as a matter of what is public corruption, and you're doing it in furtherance of murder. On behalf of demons just like you, Tracy Banks. She's going to prison because she is an ignoramus, and so are all of the demons. The demons that are driving fire trucks and ambulances and police vehicles and stalking in helicopters and planes, as my evidence shows you, they're not bright at all. They're not. They're not bright at all. It's currently 1:25 p.m. This is the entity. I'm going to go ahead and show you where I'm at again, where the fake sun remains. And you're mindful of what happened yesterday because the entity had the fake sun over me in at the 111 North Vineyard Avenue. The entity had the fake sun over Starbucks, over the roof, over my head, where I'm documenting the weirdo with the mustache in the blue car who's waving while they're embarrassed for being documented. And what does a psychopath, a sex offender do? Oh, they'll wave high, okay? This is the entity that's engaging gang stalking. The entity kept that fake sun over Starbucks, and that's evidence of Starbucks stalking as an establishment. And everything happening in that Starbucks is relevant to what has engineered light. Because sunlight, you already know, doesn't do the things that I showed you, but it's also evidence of engineered light because it's not even the product of, it has nothing to do with the fake sun. The fake sun is showing you what is a whole illusion of the environment where a bunch of demons are engaging in an ongoing incessant ritual. All right, where you're looking at what is the evidence of mental illness. The entity that's existing in this illusion of reality, they are also severely mentally ill. And that is evident through what I have shown you, their pattern of conduct of what is stalking and monitoring, targeting, okay? It's P.O.C. So let me show you the demons crossing path again, like they did at 11 o'clock this morning while the fake sun was on the opposite side of the same street, monitoring my vagina, okay? License 1271870, doing so while the fake sun's over the top of my head, all right? Just like it was while I'm showing you the picture of RAMADA, where they've been engaged in a sex offense. Michael GERKEN is done. Okay, all you have to do is show the federal government one time that you're engaged in sexual violence, engaged in criminal surveillance, doing so in furtherance of murder, and engaging in that, employing that through a whole department. You're a waste, it's a criminal waste of resources, and you are out of your rabbit mind in doing so. That's all Michael GERKEN had to do. He's out of position. And those demons engaging in kidnapping with the Ontario Police Department, like what Officer Cho of the Ontario Police Department committed, with the Ontario Fire Department, with the American Medical Response in August of 2019, he's going to federal prison, and the entity is going, the Officer Cho is going to federal prison in Kessel. It was Officer Kessel and Cho. They're going to federal prison. So is Eric Spencer. So is Tommy Allen Banks and Tracy Banks. They engaged in kidnapping with these departments that are gang stalking me now, and this is what they were doing when they engaged in criminal defamation. All right, they engage in gang stalking me. All of the gang stalking family members call the police, who then engage the police that are gang stalking. They're doing it in the specific environment. They call the police, and then the police have the fire department and the AMR come. And because the gang members say, "Oh, we need a health check," and as I know my rights, and I ask them, "What are you doing here?" And all they have a right to do is ask you a question, and you obviously answer that question, and the entity engages in kidnapping you anyway. That's what I'm documenting, all right? But this is where they're engaging what is exercising a fictitious authority under the Welfare and Institutions Code. This is what Tracy Banks committed on May 29, 2025, with the same department. All right, but the entity did not summon the fire department and the AMR ambulance. The C. Torres engaged in kidnapping, transporting me to the kidnappers who are who are Arrowhead Regional Medical Center himself, and lying on paper in doing so. And the entity that's gang stalking by the Ontario Police, Tracy Banks didn't lie by herself. The Ontario Police Department as an entity, they lied together while they are stalking me together, and they engaged in kidnapping together while they're conspiring death together, and doing so in furtherance of trying to steal property from me together. Okay, that's the entity that's stalking by helicopter, that lied on paper to engage in kidnapping under the Welfare and Institutions Code on May 29, 2025. And Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is kidnapping as well. And how do you know that? Because the entity maintained that specific environment over that hospital, which I documented. It's documented, it's on the record, the fake sun outside of the window where I was kept as a kidnapped patient on paper, an involuntary detention. It's a kidnapping where the entity is monitoring. The fake sun shown outside of my window, which is in June of 2022. It's already published on my website, and it will be going up on YouTube. All right, the entity that stole my property, stole my laptop, it's not stopping the publishing. You're going to federal prison for it. The demons that were gang stalking on the date that my property was stolen, I believe that was August 22nd, those demons gang stalking at 6:59 in the morning, they're going to prison for not only monitoring, but they also stole my property. Remember, it's an entity that stole my property. It's no random bum. These are demons monitoring together, and then they went behind, stole my laptop, which is a method of obstruction of justice, and they're going to prison for that as well. They're on the record gang stalking. They're going to federal prison. But the entity is engaging in this conduct, and I will show you. It's already published, as a matter of fact. The Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is gang stalking and kidnapping with the Ontario Police. As San Bernardino County, that is targeting me with the police using helicopter under a fake. It's all completed already. It's all completed. Jason Fields and Tracy Banks are going to prison. Period. They're going to federal prison. And the more that you expose, the more psychopathic, which does not help their purposes. What are you going to say in a courtroom? What are you going to present in court? How are you going to maintain any sort of legitimate what are you going to do? These are the demons that are literally, like I said, out of their rabbit minds. Why would you have, if someone is making up, and that would be the government's position? Oh no, this is routine. We fly over 1841 East every day, and we do so pursuant to, the radio calls, and we're doing our rounds, making sure that we don't have an emergency. And actually, we were en route to an emergency. We got a call on the radio, and so we are flying over the sky space, and we're actually not even concerned about Miss Spencer. You're talking about, that's the entity's position. Okay, you can say whatever you want. You can say that there was a fire and that there's a robbery. You can say whatever you want. The specific environment is showing the very pattern of conduct. It is impossible for that environment to be present, and no federal court's going to disregard the supernatural character of the pattern of conduct. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The entity requires you to disregard the evidence of what is and that doesn't happen in any case, and it's not going to happen now. The entity is engaged in what is stalking under all circumstances. All circumstances, because while you're engaging what is admitting that you're gang stalking en route to do whatever it is, that's an admission. Oh, you were headed pursuant to a radio call on the opposite side of the 10 freeway? Okay, that's your admission to gang stalking because it's happening in the specific environment. And the government is engaging in public corruption in plain view, and there is no excuse for it, but they're relying on what the appearance of the thing is as opposed to the substance of the thing, and they got a rude awakening coming. And in addition to that, the Ontario Fire Department are so lacking in any legitimacy at all. You're literally stalking in the middle of the night, flying on video for 9 minutes. You're following me from place to place, literally. As I walk one corner and then I cross the street, I have another video. They're flying in circles over me here. I cross the street, I go to another. They're flying in circles over me here. I go to another place, I go inside. They're flying in circles over me here. I walk outside and document the people to stay. Here they come, they fly over, and they're flying in circles over me there. This is an entity that's clearly targeting. You don't have any legitimacy, and bigger than that, even when you don't have the imbeciles of the Ontario Police who lack self-control because they are so psychopathic and delusional. These are demons that lose control the more that I tell their secrets, the more that I expose them. And that's been years in the end. You're talking about what is the inability to understand when you need to sit down. You should have sat down a long time ago. The entity's engaging in this, and where you are in the specific environment, first of all, there's no secret now. Surveillance is underway, so you can be prosecuted for targeting. You're targeting somebody, and you can claim whatever you think because you're delusional. You can claim whatever you think is some sort of diversion because you thought that gang members say it's this and that, and that's what it's going to be. No, that's not the case, sir and ma'am. That's not. That is not the case. Because the gang members say the entity is accustomed to what the corrupt government states, and it's not questioned, and that's not it. And also, that's also not even. That doesn't even make any sense in my world. I prosecute, I rely on facts. And if the facts show that there's an evidence of targeting, including when that evidence is supernatural, and you're the one that's going to be embarrassed because you're a demon. That's you. You're going to be embarrassed because you're a demon. That's not evidence that's going to be disregarded, though. You're the one that's going to be embarrassed by that. It's not going to be disregarded. We're not going to ignore that because we've never seen that before. It's evidence of what is specific means of targeting, including through the environment, where, in other words, actually how that legally works, that evidence is so detailed, so precise, it could not be made up. Because I can't make a sun remain over me, and everybody knows, a fifth grader knows, that the sun doesn't stay over one building for 12 hours. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. And what's happening in that environment? The Ontario Police Department are flying in circles over me day and night everywhere that I'm going. They're engaged in a pattern of making up information about crimes I never committed and crimes that I'm not committing while they are targeting me, obstructing justice. And what's also relevant? Oh, at the same time, you've got this high school graduate, this overly promiscuous elder, Tracy Banks, who's engaged in what is relying on this criminal conduct by this department to establish in a court that I know nothing about, pertaining to property that I know nothing about. She never told me about property. She never told me about a conservatorship. She couldn't pay my rent if I asked her, and I never have. She could not finance anything for me if I asked her, and she has not. She's the one that can't, like I said before, can't find her way out of a box by herself. She's not a genius. She's a high school graduate. She's a lazy bum. She's a thief. She's a fraud. And not only that, she is totally financially irresponsible, and that's the truth. This is somebody that could not finance a box of Twinkies. That's what I mean. So this is somebody that is in no position, actually, while she is defaming my character and necessarily behind my back, because she knows that I will embarrass her with the truth of who she is with regard to responsibility and who I am. Okay, so you're talking about out of prudence and out of foresight, laying aside my law license so that demons who are envious of me and harassing and clearly trying to incite violence at work, so that I am, after having financed my own education and doing all that work, I'm not going to jeopardize my license. And I'm going to look into what is actually going on, because this is harassment that's happening at every law firm that I'm going to. That's harassment before the entity pulled out the helicopters. Okay? That's before they pulled out the helicopters. That's before I started documenting, oh, the fake sun's remaining over me at every job that I have. The entity is keeping a fake sun over me while I'm on the freeway, while I stay at this hotel all day long. The sun didn't go anywhere. All right? And then that's coexisting with what is the harassment. By license 6EBE494, a homosexual or a gang stalking male, a sex offender the same, molesting me while Impossible Light shoots backwards along my person while they're driving on this is Vineyard Avenue, where the entity was taken off with commercial planes on video. Okay, this is the entity that's doing so, and the entity is engaging in this conduct while the entity is already surrounded with evidence. That's the Ontario fire that's stalking under a fake sun, that's in the same manner over the top of my head 2 hours later. When I was inside of that hotel room, room 325, the fake sun's over me. Ontario fire is engaged in criminal summoning. They're targeting, and they're also targeting my vagina. All right, Michael GERKEN's established that you are incompetent, that you're a violent sex offender, you're engaged in criminal surveillance, and that is not what is entailed and included in firefighting. And you're wasting a criminal waste of expenditures in doing so. And the entity is doing so pursuant to what is knowledge that is being documented. The demons kept doing it when they know that they were being outed. They knew that somebody was blowing the whistle. They knew, and they should have known if they were not psychopathic and delusional, that it's up. The secret is out. This is not a good idea to keep doing it while it's being exposed. Oh, you thought some witchcraft was just going to silence me and I was just going to disappear, or I was just going to rapidly wake up pursuant to Jason Isaac Field's voodoo and just be in love with him and not testify against anybody and say, oh, just kidding, I made it up. Don't listen to nothing that I'm talking about. That's what these demons are. Or you thought that somebody was going to successfully assassinate me? So if somebody was I'm just going to disappear, it's just going to go away? That you're going to keep me kidnapped in a facility somewhere? All right, as every other documented act of kidnapping. That's on the record, and a lot of people are going to prison for that. I documented those gang stalking deputies, Shannon Dykes kidnapping, engaging in what is drugging me on camera, trying to establish you as a patient, putting you in a uniform in the ward area, trying to establish you as a patient while they're kidnapping you and defaming your character. That's libel. That's libel as an entity. And it starts with the Ontario police who are stalking. This is literally how foolish these demons are. Stalking me on the roads and the highways, stalking as a department, and then that's what the sheriff's department is doing. They're gang stalking, targeting as well. And so is the court. By the way, I have every aspect of that entity documented. I have every aspect of that entity documented, gang stalking me under the fake sun. West Valley Detention Center, fake sun over my head. Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, fake sun over my head. Ontario Police Department, fake sun over my head. Those are demons, and they engaged in a comprehensive system using and abusing this system, the criminal justice system, and the mental health court. All right, and that's requiring the laws change, because I saw how unjust it is. I saw how they abuse it, and I saw what it requires in order for that to even be capable to occur, through and through corruption. All right, it's a statewide system, and that's why you have literally the level of audacity by these rusty, crusty demons. Like, who gave you the confidence to think that you should even do that? 9UHL458 included. Like, where do you get this? It's because the demons think in their mind, because this is how it's occurred before. But I want to be clear, the demons that you're gang stalking, that police department, you will go to prison. The demons that engage in stalking you, you're going to federal prison. You want to engage in kidnapping, you'll be disbanded. You will be removed from law enforcement. You're not just being removed and being put on a recess or some suspension and then you'll get a hearing and it'll be determined, no, you're done. And you are engaged in domestic terrorism. That's terrorism, what the state of California is engaging in. And they're puppets of Satan. They're puppets of Satan. The puppets of Satan that work in law enforcement, they're not well-trained, elite, no, they're not. They're dummies stalking under a fake sun, surrounded with evidence in ways in which they have not even anticipated in a courtroom. I'm telling you now. They haven't even anticipated. It's already surrounded. I give you a sample of that when I remind you of everything else that you're mindful of. What are you thinking about? You're thinking about what the demons at the OVITT Family Community Library are doing at 1:07 p.m. when the entity's keeping the fake sun over me at Economy and flying in circles, flying over my head while I'm documenting, because they like to employ that when I'm documenting. Okay, that's evidence of your clear. It's not a coincidence what the entity is doing, and it's not a coincidence why they do that over and over and over again. It's also not a coincidence under the fake sun. The fake sun that I have, again, evidence. No, this is not the fake sun. Let's look at what's happening on this day at the same time last year. Let's look at what's happening 2 years ago at the same time. Let's look at what's happening at the same time of year altogether. Let's look at what's happening at the inside and outside of daylight savings time, where you'll find that it doesn't make a difference because the fake sun doesn't go anywhere, and that's not the natural environment. So let's look at what's happening in Florida. Oh, so Channel 13 News is reporting in Naples, Florida, and they've got a sun over their head, but I'm showing you on the same day the sun didn't go anywhere over me. This is not evidence that any federal court, the federal investigation, is not going to be disregarded at all. At all. And it's also going to be at the forefront of that prosecution that government that's conspiring the murder of an American citizen did so with knowledge that American citizen, every step of the way, kept that documentation, maintained that documentation, published that documentation, which is, again, a single-handed effort to enforce her rights, to inform the public, to seek help, all right, to protect herself, and that government continuously posed that unlawful threat with every knowledge, every second, every moment of the day, okay? While that police department in particular, understand, it's starting from the police down. And Ontario police are being disbanded. It's starting from the police down. But it's not just police, it's actually law enforcement, because the Sheriff's Department, LA County Sheriff, Robert Luna, LA County Sheriff, Orange County Sheriff, San Bernardino County Sheriff, and the police departments, they're gang stalking. And so you're talking about the hierarchy down. So it's the fire department and the ambulances. They're engaged in surveillance. And then it's the people of the state. And the people of the state is comprehensive surveillance like what Starbucks is engaged in. The fake sun isn't already over Starbucks like it was yesterday. And it wasn't already over Starbucks over yesterday either. It remained over me as I walked to Starbucks. And it's not there as you're looking at a consistent body of evidence of targeting, which is identified in an environment. Okay, the entity is stalking, so is TYFLMBM, stalking me with impossible light activity while I'm sitting inside of the Starbucks, which I documented on video at the 3 p.m. hour. It's currently 1:42 p.m. The fake sun is the one that's in any position to still be over Starbucks, not the natural environment. License 9T PC125. Let me show you the shaded area where no sunlight is ever going to cause any sort of bright light that you saw shining on video. Let me show you that. While they're engaging what is stalking by planes, while they're engaging what is stalking by helicopter following me, stalking by the fire trucks and the ambulances, and by demons like Amazon Prime. Okay, there is no vantage point where any of that flashing light, that bright light that you saw on video yesterday at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, where demons are gang stalking at the drive-through window, PHA 1352. That's BX Air, that's gang stalking, not actually interested in purchasing coffee. 9T PC125, the sex offense committed by a bunch of demons who are psychopaths stalking with light is the outward demonstration of mental illness, okay? They're doing so. The whole structure of this building is speaking to the impossibility of that light activity that I captured on video during the 3 p.m. hour. You saw radiant light. And how's that happening? Because when they're driving by Sabah and McColl at 116 North Vineyard Avenue, there's some sort of flashing light that reaches across the street through the drive-through window, and it's also molesting my breast. Is that what's happening? When they're driving through the parking lot like 00561C3, and it shoots back into the window and through the doors? All right, and it causes light to move across the wall like I documented after 6 p.m. yesterday evening, where the sun is still at this same Starbucks that it was not at this time today because I remained at RAMADA right now. That's the evidence that's surrounding gang stalking that starts with corrupt law enforcement, that engages in what is kidnapping and murder through a population. and it's public corruption. The entity is already surrounded. That entity, that acted San Bernardino County, that acted that's San Bernardino County Behavioral Health, San Bernardino County Sheriff, with the Ontario Police, the Ontario Fire, American Medical Response. That's the entity that engaged in what is a campaign, because the gang members that are engaged in this system of public corruption forethought, if the gang members say so, so it is. And that is not the case. That is not the practice of law. That's not the practice of medicine. That's not logical. That's not common sense. And it's also not how this is going to end. I'm going to prosecute for the gang members that engaged in criminal defamation, because they did so in furtherance of taking my liberty, keeping me as a kidnapped person, masquerading as a patient that's supposed to be in a vegetable state, drugged up. Okay, not able to speak and tell you what it is that I've been documenting, but that didn't happen. The entity thought that they were going to terrorize me, psychologically torture me, and intimidate and bully me into silence. That didn't happen. The entity tried to use witchcraft to take my life so that I would also be silenced and discarded. That didn't happen, and it's not going to happen. And the entity just engages in what is more obvious conduct by the Ontario Police, demons stalking in helicopter, and anything that they state, oh, we were responding to a radio call by flying over Ramada at the time that Erica Spencer, who was imagining things, there's nothing in the evidence. I'm going to bet money they will not utter anything like that in court. It is literally disrespectful to the intelligence of the federal judge. It's not going to happen. And not only is this not a product of anybody's imagination, license 9RMD740 is a sex offender molesting with impossible light as a psychopath whose mental illness is no longer closeted, okay? And doing so with corrupt businesses like Starbucks, who are employed in the United States to maintain surveillance in a manner that is supposed to appear as though ordinary business, everyday society, okay? That's why they're going inside of Starbucks and making purchases and gang stalking at the same time. That's why people like Ocean at Starbucks, license 8WXF083, gang stalking with people like Ocean at Starbucks, commit kidnapping as you document it. All right, the entity in other words, don't disrupt our business pattern. Don't disrupt the blueprint. Don't disrupt the system. Not only am I going to disrupt it because you thought that you were going to kidnap me and defame my character and steal my property, like the ridiculous is what these demons try to do. Not only is that not going to happen, you're all going to prison. You're going to federal prison. You put hands on me. You're going to federal prison. You defame my character before hands were put on me. You're going to federal prison. You summoned the demons before hands were put on me. You're going to federal prison while you're monitoring at the venue where the entity put hands on me because you were all gang stalking together. You're going to federal prison as an entity that's threatening my life. I document public officials who then sick the police, gang stalking demons in planes and helicopters. If you think that you're sitting as a mayor or a president of an airport authority and you're not subject to a federal prosecution that's resulting in prison, you're delusional, which I already know that you are delusional because you're a demon-possessed gang stalker under a fake sun. Okay, the entity is engaged in that P.O.C, which is relevant to the massive prosecution of that entity. There is no vantage point. I'm going to show you again because on video, Starbucks is gang stalking and engaging in documented psychological torture, which is relevant to the stalking with light conduct. Okay, the entity is doing so. There is no structure that would ever cause, first of all, from a distance, driving on the street, I'm not being blasted with light in my face. Oh, no. These demons are molesting my body with impossible light. PHA 1352 is stalking with American Airlines. That's crossing path, okay? Now they're not flying behind the EVERHOME suites. Now they're flying over what is Archibald while I'm facing Hope Boulevard, standing on Vineyard. That's American Airlines, which is a gang stalker. But anyway, the entity is doing so, and there's no flashing light. Look at the video captured during the 3 p.m. hour yesterday, August 25th, 2025. I already showed you that. All I'm doing is showing you there is no getting around this, and none of this evidence is going to be disregarded. It is relevant to the mental illness of the demon-possessed Ontario Police Department, who are at the forefront of exposing how domestic terrorism in the United States is going to be treated. And it requires federal prison. It requires disbanding of kidnapping agencies, because this is what they do. This is how the system operates. They kidnap American citizens. You want to kidnap, you want to be disbanded. You want to go to prison. That's it. You want to go to prison. That's what that means. And on the Ontario Police, they do. They want to go to prison. They would rather go to prison as the ultimate result rather than stop stalking me and stop monitoring my vagina. That's how mentally ill they are, and that's what they're getting. That's exactly what they're getting. So I want you to see what is the outside appearance of what I'm documenting from the inside of Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, and it is stalking with impossible light, radiant light shooting through. I captured it in more than one video. The video during the 3 p.m. hour and the video captured during the 6 p.m. hour, where I am present right now at 1:48 p.m. and the fake sun is over my head, speaking to Starbucks targeting me, and Starbucks targeting me in furtherance of committing murder. Okay, this is not about selling coffee. They sell coffee with regard to what is literally a cover for criminal activity. That's the federal RICO case against that manager that's harassing me, telling me to keep the volume down because they're uncomfortable. No, it's not because they're uncomfortable. It's because they're psychopaths. That was a psychopath's method of targeting me. And the absurdity of this environment coexisting with that audible activity, that's exactly what puts people in mental asylums. And you are witnessing what is actual mental illness as opposed to the propaganda that you're conditioned with regarding what mental illness is and what it presents as and how to be on guard and what you need to do about it. The demons that are engaged in providing that propaganda are the ones that are engaging in this corrupt system. License 9JIH782, stalking at a gas station, mental illness. License INOTGY, gang stalking by employment at an adjacent venue where the fake sun remains over me as I encounter them. That's mental illness. Okay, sitting around waiting for somebody so you can cross path, that's so you can stalk them, and you're supposed to be covered because you think they're strangers and nobody's gonna know. That's mental illness. This is P.O.C. Good day. How are you? You guys seem a little. Everything okay? Oh, that's good. Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you were talking to me. It is 1:50 p.m. Alrighty. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the fake sun that went right on past Starbucks. Okay, stayed over Starbucks because Starbucks is engaged in the state system of surveillance. And Starbucks is representing nothing other than a company name that is employed in this criminal system of surveillance. And the entity falsely assumed that kidnapping an American citizen was going to keep that a secret and was going to falsely depict the character of the person that asserts that. And that's not what's happening. I'll prosecute Starbucks. I will prosecute the entity that engages in kidnapping. I'll prosecute the demons that are gang stalking by employment, by being a patron at that venue, where the same system of obsessive stalking where you're witnessing actual mental illness that needs to be addressed publicly in order to save your life. 8ZXV681, because they are stalking using commercial planes, American Airlines, even where they're on the opposite side of this whole boulevard where I'm now at, where the sun is stalking, remaining over my head. American Airlines is hovering. This is very disturbing stalking activity that demons that commit murder using commercial airline planes commit. And you need to know that American Airlines is engaged in that. Okay, American Airlines is a very popular airline, and I'm exposing the threat to American citizens while they are gang stalking me. They are a company that the demon-possessed utilize, and it's not just in California. So you have deranged psychopaths who are demons sacrificing American citizens and engaging in what is the act of terrorism, which is also occurring through what are plane crashes. Okay, and those plane crashes are happening under the fake sun, by the way. All right, and at night in engineer light. It's the same demon, the same demonic entity, in other words. It is currently let me see, the time is 1:52 p.m. And the fake sun exceeded beyond Starbucks. Didn't stay over Starbucks. Didn't stay over the roof of Starbucks. Didn't stay over the building of Starbucks. Didn't stay over the parking lot of Starbucks. It stayed over me, where all of the entity, including Amazon Prime, American Medical Response, Ontario Police, using all manner of the resources of a city, that includes the demons, gang stalking, and things such as dumpster trucks, using planes, concentrating over the location where I'm at, all of that over a fake sun. In a natural environment, the sun would be over the Starbucks. If you were to isolate it to just what I documented yesterday, because even before Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, there's no sun that's going to be over here ever at all. The entity's keeping the fake sun last year on this date in Hesperia over my hotel room. I'm looking at it over my hotel room window. I'm looking at San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department gang stalking me at the adjacent Motel 6 in that parking lot. The entity's engaged in criminal summoning as I'm documenting it. The entity's engaged in what is pacing, stalking, amplified audible activity inside of that hotel. The entity's engaged in the same P.O.C. of stalking as a demonic entity, surveillance by an innkeeper, a third-party hotel, which is Holiday Inn. The entity's doing that while keeping the fake sun over Ontario. It never was going to be in a natural environment over that Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, where it is not today. But that is showing you the consistent and ceaseless pattern of conduct, where the entity is engaged in that. And this is what is surrounding the demons that thought that it was a good idea to, on any day, at any time. This is what I'm stating. They're the fools that are going to prison. Like, what is it that you think that's Satan that you're listening to, and it's sad. Instead of repenting, literally to save your life and your liberty, you go to prison. And you're engaged in what is stalking. What is it that Satan is telling you that you're accomplishing? They're already surrounded as a whole police department as stalking and repeatedly kidnapping me, engaging in inhumane and criminal conduct. That is not going to help them, and it's not going to help the people that we're targeting with them. People like Jason Fields, people like the gang stalking court entertaining this nonsense about what was mine from the beginning. My property, my money. All right, my right to due process, where you want to challenge that on some nonsense. There's a reason why I wasn't able to be in that court and address that nonsense. Because when I speak, everybody knows that it's nonsense. The entities engaging in this conduct, and is doing so, let me show you United Airlines, that engages in this conduct over the Ontario Town Square. And let me show you what's over my head while United Airlines is stalking, the fake sun. That's P.O.C. And this is at Holt and Vineyard while OMNITRANS is crossing path. OMNITRANS is relevant to the business of the corrupt business practices of Alan D. WAPNER, and so is the airport, the corrupt business practices of Alan D. WAPNER. Okay, it's currently, you'll see that, it'll be uploaded to the Google Drive. It is currently 1:55 p.m. In the city of Ontario, United Airlines is already established as a gang stalker because the sun would not be on the same street in the same city where they're stalking me in Ontario on Euclid Avenue, where the sun is not going to remain over one little strip of street because it's little compared to the sun. That's engaged in constant movement, and it is not concentrated over one person in one city, where United Airlines is already on the record stalking me at 7 in the morning and thought it was a good idea on video while I'm discussing that airline to fly in a U-turn over me on Euclid Avenue. And that was at 7 a.m. I'm still in the same city where the natural environment does not include the sun being over the same person in that same city. Okay, it is 1:55 p.m. United Airlines is engaging in what is gang stalking, and what that level of impunity is speaking to the threat to you, American citizens who are listening, because they engage in sacrificing American citizens, that is killing them, murdering them. And then in the United States, discuss it through hearings regarding what they all know they did. They engaged in a sacrifice. These demons that are gang stalking me using these commercial airline planes, yes, they kill themselves and they kill other people. All right, oh, looks like the bus is here, 61. This is P.O.C. It is 1:56 p.m.
69. Airport terminal.
Oh, let me knock him out. I'm coming.
No courtesy rights.
Hello. Good day. I'm ready. Smells like candy. All right, it is hold on, I paused it. Yeah, it's 1:57 p.m. And contrary to yesterday, at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, showing you the pattern of conduct that is exhibited by a company that is Starbucks. That is, any Starbucks in the state of California is engaging in the pattern of conduct that is exhibited while I am showing you how I am being targeted by the people of the state in concert with the government. And Starbucks is actually representing the government. It's not a private company. It's not private property. This is breaking through all of those illusions where the entities engaged in criminal surveillance and then exploiting the Constitution in doing so. And they're doing that with the intent to obstruct justice. They're going to prosecute even for that level of malice. But nonetheless, the entity is keeping the fake sun while I am on OMNITRANS, and that is directly in contravention with what is sitting over the roof at Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, where I remained yesterday, and then 24 hours later, it's moving while I'm on the bus, which I've already shown you, OMNITRANS, that is targeting me, both while I'm on the bus and when I'm not on the bus. And that fake sun is remaining over me as I go far away from that Starbucks. That's the P.O.C. that Starbucks intentionally engaged in pursuant to a statewide pattern of conduct. And that is what is surrounding the Ontario police, who are engaging in what is a mission regarding any basis. And there's nothing you can say, because Erica Spencer documented you present using helicopter activity, which is a hallmark, because they're not the only police department that are stalking under a fake sun using helicopters. All right, that's the entity that's engaging in domestic terrorism in California. And the Ontario Police Department were foolish enough, they're dumb enough to do it with the very defendants that they criminally defamed me with, San Bernardino County. Jason Isaac Fields, Tracy Banks, going to federal prison. Okay, that's the long and short of it. And the fake sun is going to be over a position irreconcilable with nature, speaking to that targeting system, which is exhibited, shown, proven through the unnatural environment, and that will never be removed or ignored by any federal case against the government that's engaging in the satanic and i.e. malicious system of criminal monitoring. Right? It is.
All right, this is Hope Boulevard and Bondview. And pay attention to the fake sun turning as the bus turns. This is very demonic and absolutely impossible. All right, this is the evidence of surveillance. While the bus is driving west on Hope Boulevard, you just witnessed the bus make a turn onto, this is Bondview, driving in the direction north, and that fake sun turns to go north. 6XHW073 is gang stalking. So is the U-Haul. This is not the Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue where the entity kept that fake sun. Like I documented at 2:10 p.m. yesterday, it is currently 2:03 p.m. and the entity is keeping the fake sun while I'm on public transportation. That is the comparison, the juxtaposition between stationary presence at Starbucks, 9GPN 611, and dynamic movement of that fake sun, literally driving in the direction west, fake sun moving west, and turning as the fake sun turns with the bus. This is what I've been documenting for years. However, this is where the entity is following with helicopter activity, keeping me under surveillance, following with plane activity, keeping me under surveillance, and doing so while they are also monitoring the evidence that is keeping the evidence of surveilling me in furtherance of murder under surveillance. Okay, this is OMNITRANS that is engaging in that P.O.C. literally through the patrons that get on and off the bus. The same conditions, same criminal system. This is Bondview. All right, and this is the fake sun turning as the bus turns. This is P.O.C. and this is comprehensive surveillance. 8CES 689 is aware of my location, is aware of what I'm doing. This is a whole demonic entity. That's why you have this environment. And by the way, I'm documenting the same route after 5 p.m. on June 3rd, 2025 at Juniper and San Bernardino Avenue. This is the same route 61. The bus would not be in any position, the sun, rather, is not going to be in the window of the same bus route going both east and west directions toward Fontana and back and forth as I'm documenting, where it's evidence of what is surveillance by an entity. Okay, this is the P.O.C. It's campus and Nocta. That's what this is right now. Where the entity's keeping the fake sun over street for street and turn for turn. Remember, it's not over anybody over the back of the bus. It's not remaining stationary over Starbucks, which would be back there, and I'm looking at the sun at a distance back there. It's keeping in tow with me, including as the bus turns. And I've documented this same route at 11 in the morning. Route 61, taking the same route back to Hope Boulevard. This is the P.O.C. Not only is that not sun, this is not remaining over 111 North Vineyard Avenue. It is specific to the mode of transportation that I'm on. This is what's happening in Tracy Banks' vehicle. This is what's happening when I am in my own vehicle, like I documented in 2024, where the state of California is gang stalking, keeping the fake sun through my sunroof. This is not stationary with regard to the natural environment at the Key Point Holiday Inn in Hesperia, California, and it's also not remaining, like I documented yesterday, over the Vineyard Avenue, 111 North Vineyard Avenue, Starbucks, okay, where they engaged in surveillance all day long. And it's exhibited mental illness and malice by an entity that is gang stalking. It's also not over the OVITT Family Community Library. It's not over the Economy Inn Hotel at the 63. Okay, it's not remaining over the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. All right, this is P.O.C. It's currently 2:05 p.m. and this is the supernatural. This is relevant to the federal case for the satanic system of targeting, which is relevant to the malice of a government that seeks to criminally defame an American citizen, that it is gang stalking. P.O.C. Monitoring. A demon operating a bus is monitoring using the operations of that bus. The speaker, the times where the moments when the speaker is used as an announcement, the sound of when you hear the bus exhaust, when you hear the brakes, when she steps on the brakes, or he or she, the light activity, the peculiarized light, OMNITRANS is monitoring as you're looking at it, and it is also combined occurring through the simultaneous maintenance of that business. And it's not contrary to what it is supposed to appear on the surface, a precautionary measure or protocol with regard to how the business is ran. This is the entity that's engaging in what is light activity, license 1545819, bus 2346, where I'm showing you at what is 2:09 p.m. The fake sun is over me at what is
Plum and Hope Boulevard. And the entity is doing this, as I documented on Friday, which was the entity keeping the fake sun as I got off of, you'll remember, OMNITRANS as well, going to the OVITT Family Community Library. The entity did so, and I documented the demons molesting me with impossible light as I walked by Metro 102, the fake sun over me in the morning, if you'll recall that. It is 2:10 in the afternoon. The entity has the fake sun, as I'm documenting on video right now, where OMNITRANS is engaging in the elements of monitoring. At Starbucks, the demons are doing so by molesting me with impossible light activity. OMNITRANS is creating light activity, computerized light, by flashing of lights on the bus. The fake sun is over me, and it's not over 111 North Vineyard Avenue. That's giving you context regarding the significance of how monitoring is executed by the people of the state. OMNITRANS is also stalking with impossible light activity while they are driving on the buses. I've documented them molesting me on the inside of the buses, and I've documented them molesting me while I'm outside of the bus, which is the evidence of them targeting as well, within the pattern of conduct shared by the entity. This is the entity that's at Metro 102 Apartments right now at 2:10 p.m. All of the population is gang stalking, just like I documented at third-party facilitating venues Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue. The demons, just like I documented on Friday the 22nd, where they were getting off the bus, and OMNITRANS is the African-American male. They were exchanging drivers, and I got off the bus and I went to OVITT Family Community Library. It's the same route. I got off at the same stop, and it's also the same environment. The fake sun is over my head, which is a supernatural occurrence, pursuant to the pattern of conduct that OMNITRANS is engaging in regarding San Bernardino County, regarding Ontario, that is gang stalking, okay? And all of OMNITRANS employees are gang stalking, which my evidence also shows. And it's currently, by the way, 2:11 p.m. where the fake sun is engaged in a grand departure, showing what is targeting by an entity that is demon-possessed and exposing public corruption, okay? OMNITRANS vehicle number 524. This demon is pumping on her brakes while she knows I'm in the path, monitoring with license 9SKF052, a gang stalking demon under the fake sun, okay? This is an entity that has this demonic synchronicity. She's in the parking lot waiting to engage in what is light activity creation, pumping on the brakes. 1730862. OMNITRANS is gang stalking, uses the buses. OMNITRANS is gang stalking with the demons stalking on Euclid Avenue. You'll see the Ontario Fire Department crossing path. They're monitoring while the entity sounds the train. They're doing all of that under the fake sun that's not remaining over Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, because Starbucks is gang stalking like Ocean, and the Ontario Police Department and the Ontario Fire Department already showed you. And while they're inside of Starbucks gang stalking, like I documented already at Starbucks, the entity is keeping the fake sun. It's not even over that Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue either, while these demons are monitoring. Okay, P.O.C. 7XXP218. And let me show you the fake sun that's over me at Metro 102, just like it was on Friday morning, 8BXY907. Friday morning, the entity had the fake sun over me at this same apartment complex, where the entity is sounding what is not train activity. These are demons. 7TW2717. This is Metro 102 Apartments, where United Airlines is gang stalking on video, flying over the roof of this apartment complex while I'm in this parking lot, where the sun would not be at the same location at 2:12 p.m. I'm documenting 7 in the morning, 7:45 in the morning, 6:45, 7:15 in the morning, and the entity is keeping plane activity over Metro 102. They don't complain about it because they're gang stalking. That's why they're driving out of the parking garage while the entity is sounding a stupid method. It's stupid because you cannot even hear the train. When you ride the train, first of all, I've ridden the train, and your ears are not bleeding. You can barely hear the train when you're on it, let alone all the way. Remember when I'm at Tracy Banks' apartment at Woodside at 408 West G Street, they're sounding train activity inside of her apartment. Okay, when I'm inside sleeping in my vehicle in 2019, before this entity stole it, I'm prosecuted for that. The demons that stole my vehicle, the Ontario police, they're already on the record. They're going to prison, okay? The entity is engaging in this, and they were sounding train activity inside of my car. They're engaging in monitoring. They're doing so. How do you know that it's not really train activity? How do you know that it's relevant to monitoring, stalking me in particular? Because the fake sun's over me at Metro 102 Lemon Avenue in Ontario, California, where OMNITRANS is gang stalking. The Ontario Fire Department is gang stalking. The entity is gang stalking at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, like I documented yesterday. And that's why it's over me at Metro 102 Apartments, where it was in the morning on Friday, August 22nd, by the way, when I got off the same bus route, All right, and the entities engaging in this conduct. And you're also mindful of the body of evidence surrounding Metro 102 Apartments, which is adjacent to the OVITT Family Community Library, the 280 North Limit Apartments, the Ontario City Hall, where Paul Leon is exposed as a gang stalking demon who is going to be removed from office, terrorizing me and kidnapping me with the Ontario Police Department, gang stalking and monitoring my vagina with the City of Ontario. No sex offender, no gang stalker, no demon, no pedophile is going to remain as a mayor. He's going to be removed. This is what you're witnessing, and it is inevitable. Okay? The entities engaged in this, however, while the fake sun's remaining yesterday. Go look at all the videos that I documented. 5 videos total. And most of them are at Starbucks. The sun is not there. That was not the sun. That was the fake sun. And Starbucks is engaged in the conspiracy to murder an American citizen whom it is keeping under surveillance, terrorizing and harassing and sexually violating, because those demons that are engaged in corrupt business practices are also hostile as demons. And it calls itself Starbucks, okay? It's P.O.C. There's no sun over Starbucks while it's over me at 102 Lemon Avenue. Okay, and that is, by the way, the evidence is directly relevant to what Ocean is doing at 507 North Euclid Avenue, and Ocean's going to federal prison. All right, it is currently 2:15 p.m. This is P.O.C. License 93278X3. Demon stalking, lining my path while the fake sun remains over me as I walk toward the library. 9RVF774. The fake sun's over my head over the 280 North Limit Apartments, where it is when I'm at the Ontario Town Square at 7 in the morning. 7MUE916. License 5NOZ723. The entity is stalking by planes where under the fake sun that's now remaining over the Starbucks. 8UOR477. CJB8060. And that is Amazon Prime gang stalking. You'll see the fake sun over me. The same presence of the fake sun is over Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue yesterday. 9012081. The Ontario International Airport engaged in kidnapping with Jason Knighton and Lester Keys in January of 2020. Alan D. Wapner is being removed from office for repeatedly kidnapping with the Ontario Police, where I show you that they're gang stalking together. When the Ontario Police Department are stalking in my path, the entity is stalking with commercial planes in the same specific environment in concert with the people of the state. That's why they're going to federal prison as well. The people of the state are the ones that are pacing all around while the police are in the presence, stalking, monitoring together, sharing in that ongoing ritual where Satanism is underway, and you're being deceived with the practice of law enforcement. They're not engaged in law enforcement. All right, and while the entity surrounds with that, this demon is in the path at the turn circle where the fake sun's over 111 North Vineyard Avenue. This is a sex offender monitoring my vagina as well. License 9HFN883, POC. All right, the entity is engaging in that while stalking as I go progressively, stalking in the path. 1681882. Paul Leon being removed, and the entity stalking with Ontario Police. These are the demons that, again, engage in that while they listen and be embarrassed, and psychopaths engage in more of that conduct under the fake sun that is not over Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, speaking to targeting by that entity that's acting together, and the fake sun moves as I move, and that's the entity with the fake sun over me in the same position that it is last week on the 21st, where the Ontario Police, that's gang stalking now at 2:17 p.m., license 1591659, doing so while I'm documenting, again, the demons of the Ontario Police across the street at 7 in the morning, stalking in the parking lot, where the entity's keeping the fake sun at 7 in the morning as well, stalking in the path with their vehicles. While they're engaging in that, and the entity is surrounded by evidence, this is what the entity is engaging in. This is psychological torture. It's relevant to the entity that sits back and listens to the evidence, and this is also the entity that has committed repeated acts of kidnapping. This is audible activity, Securitas gang stalking. This is audible activity, relevant positioning under the fake sun that's not over 111 North Vineyard Avenue. Okay, that's POC. The Ontario Police is doing the same thing at 6:22 p.m. when I walk outside of the same entrance. Gang stalking by the demon that's on foot. They're pacing in vehicles and in commercial planes, which are remaining over, while the fake sun is remaining over me. The entity is gang stalking by the Ontario Police on video at 10:17 in the morning, flying in circles over my head, leaving the vehicle with recognizing the license plate. While these demons are hostile because I've been embarrassing them all day long, it's funny because they're pathetic, but understand that these are murderers and pedophiles, and these are co-conspirators with Tracy Banks defaming my character. So repeated acts of kidnapping, battery to my person, while they tried to force me into being a patient with San Bernardino County, while they're engaging in exhibiting severe mental illness, stalking, as a whole department, demons under a fake sun and engineer light, while the evidence of what Starbucks is doing with the Ontario Police Department is on the record, disbanding that department, okay? And this is where you're abandoning, okay, we're stalking the path, and we're going to leave. This is the rationale behind it, representing, this is how you're legally analyzing any stalker. The entity is doing it symbolically by stalking using logos, stalking using the representation of that department which has engaged in kidnapping. You're going to be prosecuted for that, and it's relevant to the, again, the psychological harm to the ordinary target individual, and it's relevant to the mental illness of that entity that engages in that. There's psychopaths that engage in psychological torture, okay? The Ontario police are engaging in that, and that's what they're doing under the fake sun, keeping the vehicle there. All right, their vehicles there with license 9HE and 883. These are demons that engage in that targeting conduct together, okay? Oh, there's a surprise. There's the Ontario police that are being disbanded. These are the tactics that the federal court are mindful of. These are the tactics that you are mindful of as you're being informed about how Satan operates, all right, how Satan seeks to try to target you, and what is actually ridiculous and absurd, and no reflection on yourself, and actually how you're going to enforce your rights, how it's legally analyzed. I don't expect you to follow the legal analysis, but those of you that are not inclined to the law. But I'm speaking of the legal analysis and also breaking it down. This is conduct of a bunch of demons who are embarrassed, and this level of juvenile sophomoric behavior is very expensive because they're going to federal prison. The entity that's gang stalking with regard to the timeline of the Ontario police stalking in the same manner, representing the department, including by cowards leaving the vehicle so that you can see the logo. That's the demons that are stalking by helicopter. They were doing so at the RAMADA by WYNDHAM this morning. The fake sun was not over the OVITT Family Community Library. The sun would not be over the OVITT Family Community Library at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when it's present at 7 in the morning, when it's present at 10 in the morning. It's also not going to be over the library as I'm coming from another location when it already should have been here if you weren't stalking on that previously documented occasion. This is a clearly identified tactic of what is harassing the wrong person, okay? So this is harassment, and these are demons that practice witchcraft. These are demons that are surrounded with a body of evidence. Who's going to federal prison? This is the entity that leaves the vehicle empty, vehicle 1021. Yeah, left the vehicle empty. This is represented, I do want to be clear though, it's relevant for the communication devices in the vehicle. The entity is engaging in what is a failed effort. The fake sun is the documentation of targeting. The engineer light is the documentation of targeting. The entity is engaging, oh, what are you going to do when the vehicle, I'll break it down for you because it doesn't matter. They're going to be disbanded and they're going to prison. The entity is engaging in what is tracking my steps. That's what the fake sun shows you. So they are intentionally leaving a vehicle in my path, which they've already done this before, while they're monitoring the evidence, and they thought it was a joke in 2019. Now you're being disbanded and you're going to prison with a sex offense on your record, and you're never going to be in law enforcement. The entity leaves a empty vehicle, which is relevant to criminal presence. There's no warrant or probable cause to be anywhere around the target individual where you're engaging in surveillance. You're engaged in what is monitoring, inhumane means of surveillance, and you have a documented pattern of criminal activity, including summoning and kidnapping pursuant to manufactured charges where you don't even have authority under the Constitution because you're stalking an American citizen. And leaving a vehicle that doesn't have a physical person in the path is a method of psychological torture and harassment, moreover, while you're keeping the evidence of your gang stalking under surveillance. This is relevant to the same department that engaged in stalking by helicopter this morning, knowing exactly where I'm at, and these are the type of games why they're going to federal prison. It's not helping any of the demons that you know are sitting inside of the library where there was no sun over them every morning when I'm documenting them stalking at the entrance, stalking inside of the stalking inside of the library, stalking in the bathroom, all right, while the Ontario Police Department are stalking at this same venue after 6 p.m. by helicopter, pacing all around through the Ontario Town Square that has a quote-unquote event. That event is gang stalking under the fake sun that's setting still here 5 hours later. But yesterday, the sun set at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, where the entity employs what is keeping an empty vehicle, which is not rebutting the evidence of stalking as a department. It is evidence of stalking as a department, and there's no deviating from that body of evidence that remains on the record. It will never be within the natural environment, and it will never be helpful to Officer Guerrero and Watson, amongst the other demons that are at the same venue on June 16, 2022, under a fake sun at 10:29 in the morning, when you want to play games with somebody that is not playing and what is not a funny game for you at all as a department. You're going to federal prison while the fake sun and these demons leave an empty vehicle where a coward is sitting around listening at how I'm going to analyze that. You're going to federal prison all the same. Corey Watson is kidnapping under a fake sun. And he's been engaged in kidnapping while on this same street the fake son is present at 6:33 in the morning, where he thinks that it's prudent and a good idea to be on camera with impossible light activity, swiping all inside of that Starbucks, which is on the same street where the son would never be, at the same venue where that same department keeps a vehicle in my path in order to engage in what is a documented act of harassment while they're keeping you under surveillance, the evidence under surveillance. Those are the type of games that the entity plays with itself, okay? You're going to prosecute for that. And these are the type of psychological warfare that ordinary target individuals have a right to not be subject to. These are the intellectually inept. They're just demons that engage in those sort of ploys. 8MPX084. And these are the type of ploys that demons that are conspiring murder utilize. Okay, this is supposed to be something that's bullying the ordinary target individual. This is something that's supposed to scare them away from going inside to publish the evidence that they just captured. This is supposed to intimidate them and think that the people inside are also with the police who are going to just ambush them and take their evidence and not allow them to put it up on the internet. They're fearing for their lives while they've been subject to a pattern of kidnapping. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and it is not, you're going to federal prison. That's the bottom line. Look at the evidence of the entity gang stalking at 9:48 in the morning. That demon is documented on license by, that's the same Ontario Police Department, including Corey Watson, at this venue, while psychopaths are sitting up like they're engaged in a conversation. You're not conversing under the fake sun. You're stalking in the path in the same manner that the demons are, because they don't want me to document the image. So you're capturing the same department, stalking under the fake sun. The Ontario International Airport, stalking with who is Paul Leon, right here at 303 East B Street. The building is right here. The sun is not going to be over his office, which I'm documenting, at 10 o'clock, and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's never going to be when it's remaining over 111 North Vineyard Avenue. Any angle that you want to look at it, the entity has already lost. The demons have lost. So when Satan loses, these are the type of games that you're not going to entertain. And it's also why it is no sort of distraction from that strict liability basis when you establish that P.O.C. It is probable cause for what is that ongoing investigation, the specific environment. And surveillance is already established in California. So the entity that's engaging in surveillance, engaging what is leaving a vacated vehicle in the path, because the demons are, again, very hostile to everything that they listen to be documented. This is a childish character of Satan who is, again, engaging what is a numbers game that they lose. Okay, because there's no amount of millions and thousands of demons that are going to outnumber or outsize or outweigh Christ Jesus. That's why they resort to such childish tactics, while meanwhile they're going to federal prison. So what are you winning? What are you winning? Because they're at this Ontario Town Square at 7 in the morning. That same department where you see that logo representing what is criminal monitoring. So that logo of the Ontario Police is associated with Satanism, with pedophilia, with stalking, criminal stalking, with harassment and psychological torture tactics, war tactics on American citizens. That's what that logo is associated with. Okay, they're engaged, they're associated with criminal activity. That's what you're getting. It's not a distraction. It's also not any deterrence from the same exact straightforward prosecution. Stalking under the fake sun with San Bernardino County at 1841 East G Street today. And then out of the blue, the entity keeping the fake sun now back at the OVITT Family Community Library, where it's exposing a bunch of kidnappers and sex offenders, keeping my vagina under surveillance, including those under the age of 18. Those are sex offenders, by the way, but that's what you expect. They're sex offenders in custody of children, engaging in sexual violence with them. Okay, that's what you are looking at, and that's what's relevant to that, to breaking that down logically and analyzing that legally. The entity is going to be prosecuted. This is Mike Lorenz's worldwide demonstration of not, because you are establishing precedent. That's what I'm doing. I'm establishing precedent. Mike Lorenz has been fully exposed, and he has himself demonstrated the fact that he is not only mentally incompetent, he is entirely corrupt, and that is disqualified. He is devoted and committed to criminal activity of a secretive nature, and that secret is exposed. And that is showing his commitment to that, while he is a puppet of Satan, which renders him disqualified based on his criminal and satanic purposes of monitoring someone. 6VIW696, and incentivizing that with the public. That's how you have a whole department full of demons, of whom I've documented a plethora of them, and they're all going to prison. Okay, the entity is gang stalking, just like I showed, just like I documented, and keeping a vehicle that is unmanned is the evidence of the ongoing targeting by that department. Okay, and the entity is doing so with regard to the evidence of that communication device. They are stalking outside of the venue of the OVITT Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, which is not sharing the sky space. It's not over the roof. It's not at the same time remaining over everyone everywhere. It's also not in Florida over everyone in the country all day long, remaining for the duration of the day like I'm documenting. No, these demons are monitoring, and they're monitoring the federal prosecutor, and they're engaging what is listening to me break that down in order to prosecute in a federal court. None of the evidence is going to be removed, and the federal judge is going to pay attention to this. I'm breaking this down for you Because this is what an entity thinks is, first of all, some sort of distraction or some sort of delay in evidence going on the internet. These are the demons that are trying to block, for example, the petty mind state. I have thousands, over 7,000 videos on the internet. They try to block one video. This is what they do, that over one video. That in the conclusion, it's a foregone conclusion you're being prosecuted. 9RJD387, and they devote everything to trying to block one video. This is tantamount to that same defeated effort, leaving a vehicle, and rather than me stay outside, rather than me go inside and publish, and they're not controlling anything. I want to give you this example because there's absolutely nothing that is rebutting, contradicting, or interfering with what justice requires and what the evidence proves that the Ontario police, who represent what all law enforcement agencies are engaging in California. Okay? And number one, it's satanic. That's going to be addressed as what is malice in court. Okay? And the entity that's engaged in this malicious system is first of all, has no jurisdiction under the law. Second of all, has no position to speak about the character, the mental health of any other person. This is the outward demonstration, the proof of mental illness by gang stalking, which law enforcement is engaging in. 9D-LE-808. Doing so with the public. Public corruption is underway by Mike LORENZ. He's being removed from position, and his mental illness is at the forefront as to why, okay? This is a sex offender who is obsessed with my vagina. That's also what you need to know about him by virtue of his position and by virtue of the criminal activity by that entire department. 9RTA789, many of whom I've documented by license plate, image, badge number, presence in the path, where they're obsessively stalking. For example, what I documented on August 22nd, 2025. The entity is engaging in this pattern, 21st, and the entity is stalking at 6:59 in the morning. What, pray tell, is that rising in alignment at the distance at the OVITT Family Community Library? I'm at this same street strip where the entity thinks it's a good idea and thinks that they're playing some game and winning some prize by keeping the Ontario Police Department vehicle present. They're not. It is evidence of stalking. It is evidence of engaging in psychological torture while the entity is engaged in some symbolic, oh, we're going to leave the vehicle there and the people are still going to pace. We're going to do the same. This is the entity. You're playing games with yourself. You're all going to federal prison. You're all going to federal prison, and the Ontario Police Department is being wiped off the map. Jason Fields and Tracy Banks are going to federal prison, definitely. But the entity is stalking, for example, 6:59 a.m. on video. The fake sun is less than 500 feet away from here, while the fake sun is at 6:59 a.m. on video in alignment to me while the Ontario Police are engaged in criminal summoning. And I walked on the opposite side of the same street, and this is where the fake sun is at 2:31 p.m. But yet yesterday it's remaining over 111 North Vineyard Avenue. Those are the demons that play stupid games and you win stupid prizes, like being embarrassed on the internet where you're being prosecuted first, which I find I will concede that may be necessary and it is necessary, because in order to establish the unprecedented system of criminal surveillance, you should be able to prosecute, which I did, and some. The entity is not only prosecuted on the internet, there is no question with regard to what's going to happen in federal court and what the, for example, Ontario Police Department are and what they've been doing and what's wrong with them as they do it. Psychopaths that engage in things such as games that they lose at, that is showing the mental illness that they harbor, which needs to be addressed when many of them are going to be treated in asylums and federal prison. They're engaging what is keeping a fake sun over me, and it is over me on this same street at 6:59 a.m. where those two demons engaged in criminal summoning are going to federal prison for stealing also my laptop. These demons that are pacing around me, this is the entity that stole my property, and they're the entity that is gang stalking together at OVITT Family Community Library, where both the sunrise and the sunset is documented, okay? Computers and printing are out of service. We apologize. This is the entity that's gang stalking Ontario OVITT Family Community Library. It's 215 East C Street in Ontario, California. That's criminal monitoring, okay? That's P.O.C. You guys' computers, it says it's out of order. What happened? ¿Qué pasó?
All of the computer sources are down.
The desktops?
Like everything, like computers, printers, laptops, everything.
So what happened to does that mean the Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi's still up.
The Wi-Fi is up, but the computers are down though.
Yes.
Okay, so even the laptops?
Yes.
Okay, do you know how long that's gonna last? What happened?
The servers went down sometime this morning. We have it.
The servers went down this morning?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, that's the same P.O.C. That's the entity that is monitoring with the police outside and then stating that you're not going to be able to access understand the subliminal messages behind the demons that are going to be disbanded. And this is the same entity that committed kidnapping. Listen to me document them while I was at 111 North Vineyard Avenue. They sit up and listen to that, and the entity engages in that. These are the stupid, petty games. Hi, don't mind me. Go ahead. These are the stupid, petty games that the entity plays while they're engaging what is monitoring evidence. Okay? It is currently 2:33 p.m. This is P.O.C. Okay. right, this is relevant to, again, remember, OVITT Family Community Library is the venue where I go to publish online. And the entity that is engaging in monitoring on the venue of the internet, this is the pattern of conduct that the entity is wanting to monitor on via Wi-Fi as well, and also blocking access to the desktop computers, the laptop computers. This is what I use in order to update on a daily basis. So that's relevant to what is the purpose in that. While I still have Wi-Fi access, that's the purpose behind it. It's very, 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 very petty. Okay, 7,000 videos. I've already established the P.O.C. You need far less as American citizens that will follow my lead with regard to prosecuting a government that's targeting you. But the entity is engaging in this, and this is relevant to obstruction of justice, which is also why gang stalking police officers and kidnappers with them are going to federal prison. It's 2:34 p.m. at 215 E.C. Street. It's relevant. Pay attention to the ongoing psychological torture inherent to having the gang stalkers, the kidnappers themselves outside of the venue in the specific environment, relevant to knowledge of everything that I documented in an entirely different location, irreconcilable with what is, in other words, clear targeting that this venue in particular engaged in, while I refer to it, and then those demons conspire to obstruct justice and harass and threaten by that presence of that entity together in that environment, and then there are no malfunctions. There's no malfunctions. It's not, the entity is blocking ability to access technology, and you're going to prosecute for that. There is nothing other than kidnapping happening on June 16, 2022 under the fake sun, which is what is shown. While the entity can claim any sort of malfunction, you're going to federal prison, period. So the entity is engaged in that, and by the way, with regard to surveillance that you're not ignorant about, it's not malfunctions or down servers. Spectrum is monitoring, Frontier is monitoring, the City of Ontario is monitoring, surveillance is underway via communication devices, and it is relevant to the environment that you're in. They don't have malfunctions where you cannot, it's only where you cannot access it. It's disrupting your ability, but the entity is maintaining ongoing, pervasive, diligent, obsessive means of surveilling everyone, as I am showing you that, being targeted amongst the surveillance system, and it is not actual failure, it's just failure to permit you to access it, understand that, and it's relevant because the entity is doing it now to obstruct justice. And it's relevant for me to show you that because it's also relevant to people who are going to prison. Okay, it's people who are going to prison. A. Morris, Corporal Kemp, Jason Knighton, Lester Keys, S. Patty, C. Torres, L. Martinez, B. Hook, Nathan Morgan, A. Quesada, Alex Escobar, L. Edwards, that are engaged in kidnapping, kidnapping with this entity. So is Corey Watson, Officer Guerrero. They're engaged in kidnapping with San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department in 2022 at this same library where the sun, at no time of year ever, daylight savings time or not, but it's both in summer. Summer 2022 at 10:29 a.m., the sun is remaining over me today at the RAMADA by WYNDHAM, which I'm documenting while Ontario fire a gang stalking at after 11 a.m. The entity is keeping the fake sun over this OVITT Family Community Library. You could see it. It's published on the YouTube post page. It's very obvious. There's no secrets here. And it's also obvious this tactic that this entity just employed. And this is why also they're going to federal prison. Daisy and everybody else engaging in kidnapping on June 16, 2022. And this is why. This is why the kidnappers at Starbucks engaging in kidnapping on July 4, 2025. This is why. This level of impunity, this level of disdain, this ongoing defiance, this delusion with regard to you're not retaliating against anything. You're not defying any system. You're going to be prosecuted. Satan doesn't like it. Satan doesn't have to like it. Satan doesn't get a vote. Satan has no authority, no rights whatsoever to engage in anything that I've exposed. You don't have any constitutional rights, and you also don't have any authority, both the government and the people. And Satan merely doesn't like it. You are paying attention to that because that's going to inform federal legislation where these demons who are pedophiles, who are murderers, who are liars, they bear false witness on innocent people, on people that they seek to frame, on people that they are kidnapping and murdering together as an entity. They don't have a vote. It's going to happen. And this is why. This is what this is relevant, because it's not stopping anything. I want you to pay attention because this is malice and this is impunity. The demon-possessed are actually evil. This is wicked conduct. This is all because they've been conspiring the murder of someone and it didn't work. And now you're being exposed and you're engaged in ongoing harassment and psychological torture that's happening in the police vehicle outside under the fake sun. Okay, under the fake sun, it's supposed to be over Starbucks if you're not a stalker. And before that, it's supposed to be already over the OVITT Family Community Library. But it wouldn't be at 2 in the afternoon if it was present in the morning if you're not a stalker. All right, and then you're talking about what's happening in that environment. It's not the natural environment, and there are also no genuine malfunctions. The entity is maintaining a tightrope on the means of surveillance, communication devices, access to internet.
And it's all about me. That's what's also so sick about them. These rusty, crusty, dusty demons are sitting up obsessively monitoring me and everything that I utter, including what I utter about them. And this is what I'm uttering right now. You're all going to prison. You're going from working at the circulation desk to sitting in a federal cell. And this is relevant to the impunity that you are hereby exhibiting. You think it's a good idea to gang stalk with the Ontario police? The Ontario police are going to be a liability, just like being associated with Tracy Banks is going to be a liability in court, where you're going to try to move yourself far away from it. And you're going to regret it. You're going to prison. That's what you win by engaging in this P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and it's 2:39 p.m. This is obstruction of justice. It's not an actual failure of technology. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that, and I've been documenting this pattern for years. The entity did so before because they thought that I was going to be 6 feet under by now, and they were going to steal my intellectual property. None of that is happening at all. You're going to understand the entirety of the story, and then you're also going to witness justice to the fullest extent of the law. Okay, it's currently 2:39 p.m. This is Oh, just as an aside, this is what you should laugh about, because this is relevant to the loser that Satan is. This is how pathetic the demon-possessed are that lose, and they're also sore losers because all of the demons lost against one person, and that person is Christ Jesus. But they engage in all that conduct that was documented today, and then they're scared for it to be published. That's actually what's happening, okay? They're scared for it to go on the internet. So, okay, we know we've got a malfunction and nothing works, so that's what that's about. You engage in it, and then you're scared for it to go up on the internet. That's actually what's happening, and I am approaching with this cowardice over and over and over and over again. This is the pathetic reality of the demon-possessed that rely on witchcraft, who are absolutely insane. They live amongst illusions, and they think that illusions are going to cause other people to have breakdowns, and they came across one that it doesn't work. And so then what happens when your illusions are there serving to diagnose you and convict you? Then what? Oh, then you have a technological malfunction where you can't put the evidence on the internet because you're scared to death. Yeah, that's what's so pathetic. I just want you, that's food for thought. The entity is very much scared. And you should be. You should be very scared because it's very real. Spiritual and physical consequences. It's 2:41 p.m. P.O.C. First of all, the video that I captured yesterday at Starbucks located at 111 North Vineyard Avenue in Ontario, California, 91764, which is inside of the Ontario Airport Shopping Plaza, shared by the Mr. Fry's Restaurant and Suite B at the same address, the San Bernardino County Child Support Services, the Quick Mart, which is at the intersection at at Holt Boulevard, meeting at Vineyard Avenue, where the Starbucks I'm inside of under that fake sun is remaining. Across the street is the Spires Restaurant, and the entity adjacent to the property is the Del Mar Grill and Bar. Across the street is the Folk Inn. All of those venues, Motel 6. The entity kept that fake sun over there on that side of the town, over me on that side of the town, until after sunset, and I proved that with evidence. Okay, on that same street of Vineyard Avenue where I never left, which is around the corner from that fake sun over me in the morning yesterday, August 25th, 2025. This is where the entity kept that fake sun over Starbucks. And at 3:04 p.m. yesterday, August 25th, at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, I am inside of Starbucks, and I am documenting Melissa, who's gang stalking by virtue of the Starbucks employee calling her name, which is audible activity at the moment that I start recording, wherein then you're looking at the radiant, flashing, bright light activity coming through the drive-through window, and that is happening, which is coexisting with the light activity that I'm documenting via podcast. My breasts are being molested with light that's just coming out of nowhere. The same light activity that I showed you that's occurring inside, while the people of the state are demons, actually, pacing in and out, grabbing coffee drinks, and doing so while they're gang stalking. And this is what Starbucks is engaging in as corrupt business practices. And at 3:04 p.m., that's what this podcast is about. There is no sun over Starbucks at 3:04 p.m., which is proven through evidence of the fake sun being over me at that venue as a matter of video documentation and images before 3:04 p.m. during the 1 p.m. hour, and until after 6 p.m. The fake sun is remaining, and that's why I remain subject to the stalking with impossible light, which is the mentally demented pattern of criminal monitoring, where the mentally ill, the special needs population are exposed, and so is their criminal activity of surveillance. That is the entity that is stalking inside of the OVITT Family Community Library in that remarkable environment and very precise targeting. That includes stalking, harassment by the gang stalkers of Ontario Police, who placed that vehicle outside of the venue that is hostile to everything that I documented, specifically referencing the OVITT Family Community Library. The demons at this venue are engaging in a very specific and detailed means of harassment, which is relevant to the impunity with which they committed kidnapping on June 16, 2022 as well. It's going on the record with regard to the impunity with which they commit kidnapping and monitoring the genitalia of the American citizen whom they are keeping under surveillance and seeking to obstruct justice, and doing so pursuant to monitoring, not any technological failures. The entity is engaging in what is monitoring the entire time under a fake sun, which is evidence of everything that I just referred to, and it is the entity that is demonstrating severe mental illness that poses a threat to the public. This is what is underway by establishments like the OVITT Family Community Library, where at 3:04 p.m. there's no sun over my head at 111 North Vineyard Avenue. That's creating any sort of sunlight inside of that venue of Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, while it's remaining over the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library that is under a fake sun where it remains, which is also already on the record before the entity engaged in the foolishness of being caught under a fake sun on video and images published on the internet, and then the entity claims that there's a technological failure regarding the inability to access the very communication devices that are routinely used in order to expose them. Those are the demons that are monitoring obsessively. They are monitoring with regard to a delusional prospect. Okay, they are exposed before they accomplished any satanic sacrifice and profiting from it, and they are also showing the obsession and the mental illness shared by this entity born of this condition of mental illness, where you are engaging in the criminal conduct. That is, the criminal activity is the evidence of mental illness. Literally, gang stalking is conducted by somebody that is mentally sick. And I've broken that down by stalking under a fake sun. You're not doing anything other than stalking, including when you have the brand name Vector, when you have the brand name FedEx, when you have the brand name UPS, when you have the logo Ontario Police, the logo Ontario Fire, you have the establishment Starbucks, the logo Starbucks, or OVITT Family Community Library. It's the same entity surrounding in a ridiculous environment. And the entity is keeping that fake sun at 3:04 p.m. yesterday, and it's remaining over the OVITT Family Community Library today. Pay attention to what's published on YouTube. Also, what you're going to pay attention to, the entity that is engaging in what is obstruction of justice. So the playlists are created. The playlists for every day are created. Typically, it's moved to the front so that you can see it as you access my YouTube channel. The entity is very fearful, very petty, okay? But it's not stopping the pattern of conduct. The entity is very much, it's very sad. It's like it's just like this. A demon-possessed Rusty Dusty considers herself pretty if she puts on her mask every day, and you don't see the pus-filled infection all over her face from the HIV infection that she doesn't tell anybody that she has while she's engaging in promiscuous conduct with all manner of people. But she puts on a mask that hides all the the obvious infection that is literally manifested on her face. And as long as she wears that mask, she is able to lie to herself and tell herself that she is pretty. And the entity is engaging in this sort of conduct, this sort of surface level. No, it's not changing anything, but the entity is merely concerned about my playlist being at the front so that you can't see it on the YouTube channel when you look at it. You can select on the playlist and it will be created for the date. August 26th is present, will be present. August 25th is present. August 24th is present. All the playlists will continuously be created. The entity is engaging in ongoing obstruction tactics, which is relevant. I'm speaking to the fact that it is literally feckless. It's akin to a demon that is hideous in the face, puts on a mask every day and tells itself that it's beautiful. Not only is it hideous on the inside, it is hideous on the outside. And that's the reality, and that's of its own doing, okay? The entity is engaging in this, and there are inevitable consequences, including that which are related to obstruction tactics, which is what all of this evidence is relevant to. The entity is engaging in that, and it's relevant to the ordinary target individual who has a right to not have their life threatened by any sort of tactics that the government is employing. And this is what Jason Isaac Fields is relying upon. This is what he is still engaging in targeting me with, while the entity is following with the Ontario Police. Remember, the Ontario Police, their criminal activity is what he was relying on and addressing in criminal acts court hearings defaming my character, calling me a criminal, calling me mentally ill, while the demon-possessed Ontario police are showing you that they're stalking me and that they've been stalking me and that they've been making up information as to why they've been kidnapping me and following me around from place to place when they are whole demons in a whole engineered environment pursuant to a pattern of conduct that Jason Isaac Fields himself is engaging in to date, and he's going to prison for it. Pay attention to the playlist they're created, even though I will not be able to move them to the front so that you can see them on the face of my YouTube channel, which is a petty and very small detail. But nonetheless, it's relevant. It's an obstruction tactic. You identify it. It informs federal policy. You see the links to which a demon-possessed entity is willing to go when they've already lost, by the way. Okay, once secrecy is gone, it's lost. What are you going to do? Murder somebody in plain view and then still try to maintain the narrative? It's not going to work. It's not going to happen, and it's not going to work. Okay, but like I said, we have more than just the secrecy gone. The entity's whole system, broken down diligently for study. Okay, the entity's engaging in this, and it's relevant to what is not present over Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue. I continued walking out, getting pictures. I continued getting video until after 6 p.m. The entity's keeping the fake sun over 215 E.C. Street, and inside, while I'm accessing my devices, while Engineer Light fills this venue, the employees are sitting around stalking, monitoring, pacing, pursuant to the same demonic synchronicity. Just like outside, the demons are crossing path in vehicles, in planes, and in helicopters, pursuant to knowledge about what it is that I'm saying as I'm saying it, pursuant to knowledge about what I'm doing on my device as I'm doing it. Also relevant to the substance of which I'm speaking, engaging in psychological torture tactics such as harassment by the demons that try to criminally defame me, San Bernardino County with the demons, Ontario police over my head in helicopter under the fake sun. This is what's happening inside of Ontario OVITT Family Community Library, where the sun is not over Starbucks at the same time. Okay, they're monitoring while they're claiming to have a malfunction of technology. This is relevant to the demons who are going to prison for the documented kidnapping on June 16, 2022. And that is again under Sean Thrasher, P.O.C. The demons that are employed at OVITT Family Community Library, it's psychopathic, the level of conduct that they engage in using the office door to monitor my activity device. The door closure, the incessant door closure, it's 3:31 p.m. Everything that they do is also on surveillance cameras, and that's also relevant to how I'm going to prosecute the entity through its own technology use, their own cameras, their own evidence of what they do as business records. It's all going to be used showing the malice with which they engage in monitoring and the establishment. But the employees are stalking, going through the door closure. They have an office adjacent to the study rooms. Demons are pacing incessantly in and out, and if not just opening and closing the door, it's pursuant to what is monitoring my devices, and they're all employees walking with perpendicular or multiple shadows monitoring me. That's what's so pathetic about gang stalking, working at a library where you're engaging in stalking somebody else and you want to appear as a normal person working at a library in some upright position, and you're a whole demon-possessed psychopath that's monitoring my vagina. It's 3:32 p.m. where they're monitoring the evidence that I'm publishing about San Bernardino County and the Ontario Police, gang stalking at 1841 East G Street, and the more that I publish into this PDF document, the more that the door opens and closes, as you can hear in the background. If you can hear that, the open and closure that's audible activity, and it's psychopathic pacing. It is the police department's version of stalking, pacing in a helicopter for 20 minutes. That's what psychopaths do inside of a building when they're monitoring what it is that you're doing on a device. And they're also monitoring pursuant to what is supposed to be a cloak for hostility. It's psychopathic. It's 3:33 p.m. This is P.O.C. monitoring by the employees that committed kidnapping with this same entity at this venue on June 16, 2022. That's the entity that's targeting me today by helicopter, by department, and including San Bernardino County, P.O.C. All right, license 9MQU787, molesting, 9MXP934, molesting, CEASELLESS, that's Certified Aviation Services. Oh, isn't that interesting where the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking? 75878J3, molesting, 8ZAE082, molesting, 9GBB448, molesting, 84871Z3, molesting. These are the sex offenders, the predators, the demons with the Ontario Police Vehicle 1120. Doing so with the Ontario Police Department, those are in fact are molesters. Those are the pedophiles gang stalking under a fake sun that did not remain over Starbucks that committed kidnapping with the Ontario Police. Oceans going to federal prison. The more that the demons engage in this stupidity, the more that you document the evidence of them in fact targeting. The entity that's targeting is engaging in what is a kidnapping while they're stalking.
and they're going to prison. And that includes Ocean of Starbucks at the 507 North Euclid Avenue address, where she is stalking and monitoring me as a sex offender with impossible light inside of that Starbucks, just like I documented inside of the Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue, where the Ontario police engaged in kidnapping at the Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue. All right, I just want to make clear, I meant to say 111 North Vineyard. Kidnapping occurs at 507 North Euclid. On July 5th, that's where L. Edwards, A. Quesada, and Alex Escobar committed kidnapping while they were stalking like the Ontario police are right now. While I'm documenting the people of the state, they engaged in criminal summoning while I'm documenting just like I am now, and that's what the Ontario Police Department did. The malicious iteration is, oh, we're gonna call the police because you didn't make a purchase at Starbucks. Because you didn't make, Ocean is engaged in gang stalking. She could say whatever it wants. She could say because I stole a leather fruit bar, she's engaged in gang stalking, you're going to prison. All right, but the entity is doing so pursuant to what was any excuse to summon the police. And by the way, you don't even need an excuse. They came in purchasing drinks at Starbucks at that venue, monitoring me. She's going to federal prison, period, because the entity put their hands on me while they're stalking, just like the Ontario Police Department are right now, while I'm documenting the people of the state, molesters, sex offenders, demons, homosexual women monitoring my vagina in the bathroom, stalking under a whole fake sun that followed from Vineyard Avenue and G Street, did not already remain present in a natural environment over the OVITT Family Community Library. Those demons, those sex offenders, those stalkers, those kidnappers using a police department vehicle, that's what Mike Lorenz is wasting resources and time on. Criminal surveillance, that's why he's done with law enforcement. This is what Tracy Banks and Jason Fields are relying on, gang stalking by a demon-possessed, sexually perverted, and psychopathic department, which is sharing a condition with the population of demons who like to molest my body with engineered light while they're keeping me under surveillance. Stalking me by the demon-possessed gang stalkers who are stalking in the middle of the night by walking on the same path as me while they're monitoring. That's what these aren't pedestrians and this isn't traffic. Neither is it their headlights. During the day, it's not sunlight. These are the demons in that circus environment who are surrounded with evidence. And what do psychopaths do when they are caught? They engage in more psychopathic behavior. For the federal government to sit back and survey, and this is why they're going into prison. This is why they're being deported. This is why they're being prosecuted for terrorism. This is why they're going to be identified as sex offenders. This is why they're being disbanded as a corrupt police department. This is why they're being removed from public office. This is why you're going to be facing federal prison. That's why. Okay? It's currently 9:02 p.m. I can't make those facts up. The entity's engaging in gang stalking. It's on the traffic cameras. The entity's engaging in what is crossing path, molesting with impossible light with the Ontario police who are stalking with those third parties as I identify their license plates. And the demons that were stalking the whole time merely cross path in a readily identifiable threat. That's the Ontario police who were stalking outside of the OVITT Family Community Library. Playing games that no smart person would participate in, would engage in, if they didn't want to be identified as terrorists on the world stage, if they didn't want to go to federal prison, if they didn't want to be disbanded, if they weren't in fact sex offenders obsessed with my vagina, praying to Satan about it. All right, it's currently 9:02 p.m. That's P.O.C. as I leave the OVITT Family Community Library, where they've been engaged in the P.O.C. Look at the images uploaded to the Google Drive, and you will see images of homosexual violence. These are gang stalking females stalking me in the women's restroom, with the sex offender maintaining criminal presence in alignment to me in the male's restroom, where females and males engage in sexual violence together with the Ontario Police Department to engage in what is monitoring my vagina. That shared sex that shared sex act that the demon-possessed engage in when they're monitoring genitalia in private spaces, which you need to know that the government is doing in the United States. Against your consent, knowledge, against your will. And they're engaging in what is gang stalking me, and I'm exposing everything that they're doing pursuant to unlawful surveillance. It's currently 9:03 p.m. That's P.O.C. That's the P.O.C. of the sex offenders who are being disbanded, following me everywhere, including at the location of the 1841 East G Street. Add that onto the laundry list of stalking by the Ontario Police Department, because they're being disbanded. P.O.C. (4NEF337). You too. Stalking at the neighborhood quick market, okay? And driving off. That's relevant for disengaging in the elements of monitoring. A bunch of psychopaths stalking. This is, again, Satan that inspires this. These demons know where I'm at, and they engage in the elements of monitoring together. That third-party license plate is engaging in monitoring at the venue. It's 9:12 p.m. License 4WK. Hold on, let me get the rest of it. Excuse me. This is all activity creation. Hey, what's good? They're monitoring. Thank you. Bye. License plate. Keeping the light on. Aim toward the video. This is the same thing you see, for example, at 7-Eleven. All these demons aiming light. 5SAD962. All right, this is P.O.C. It's 9:13 p.m. at the Euclid 1 food store. Yeah, that's P.O.C. The entity is maintaining activity creation by having demons walking on the sidewalk in front and behind me. This is surveillance. And giving you another iteration of that, today you saw the fake sun remaining over the top of my head. That's stalking with engineered light. So everything that's happening in that environment is pursuant to surveillance, meaning nobody around me is ignorant about who I am. They're all engaging in surveillance together. The entity is engaging in what is keeping Vector on one side of me. And then, as I documented earlier, at the Ontario Airport Hotel, which was west of my location, it was adjacent to the hotel where I was standing on the sidewalk. And context is that the fake sun is over my head, so these demons had flashing of light using vehicles with both peculiarized light on both sides of me. That's another iteration of the same thing, stalking with light, maintaining presence all around me. That is prosecuted as a terrorizing threat. Stalkers are surrounding you while they're engaging what is stalking you from place to place as an entity. They're not any longer doing it unbeknownst to the target individual. And in fact, I document, for example, the Ontario police that will engage in documented acts of terrorism, stalking, perpetually pacing, following me in a helicopter for 20 minutes because I am documenting them, because I know that they're engaged in stalking me, because I know that they're targeting. That is the psychopath engages in more violence. It is inspired to engage in torturing and targeting even more as you document, as you identify it. And why? Mostly that's because demons don't like to be identified. And these demons have for a long time thought that nobody could see them. Nobody knew what they're doing. Psych. License plate. Stalking at ARCO. 8Y25465. You hear that fake train? These demons are monitoring, and so is ARCO. License 8Y25465. Gang stalking immigrant, 5TEC607. He's going to be running for the border. If he's a gang stalking immigrant, they're being deported. 2982772. 9KPU898. Stalking with ARCO. Maintaining that train activity, they're all monitoring. All of them. License 9NOB691. 8FLE. 085, stalking, every single last one of them. License 9HRN258. That's amplified train activity. There's no train. There's no train. It's demonic. It's as demonic as the fake sun that you saw over the 1841 East G Street. That's an illusion that you see before your eyes, yes. It's also an illusion that you hear with your ears. This is demonic activity. And it's demonic activity that's going to be used as tangible evidence to prosecute psychopaths, a mentally sick population who's been engaged in organized crime of murdering and kidnapping American citizens. And it's government conduct. It's all state action. P.O.C. It is 9:16 p.m. Waiting, okay? 731 South Euclid, waiting. With the Ontario Police license, 9PER395, stops in the middle of the parking lot with their hazards on. This is what the entity did at the Ovid Family Community Library with the Ontario Police. This is supposed to be a statement. License 9PER935, stalk with the Ontario Police. Gang stalking immigrants. Yeah, that's P.O.C. Stalking with impossible light activity. And stalking with the demons of the Ontario Police. 1118. And let me show you my shadows. Elongated, stalking in the middle of the night. Is that S. Patty that's going to prison? She knows she was documented today. They're listening to my documentation. 1697635, molesting with light. That's a demon monitoring. 1706920, vehicle 1126, not helping the gang stalking immigrants in 7-Eleven. License 7NBS153 is monitoring with the police. License plate 8TBG183. Okay, this is P.O.C. That's federal prison. This is a white male. That's a white male. These are demons. The train activity that you listened to, they were monitoring. And they're at the 7-Eleven monitoring with the demons that anticipated my presence. 1697635. That's a white woman. Vehicle 1118. Looks a lot like S. Patty. S. Patty's going to prison. She engaged in kidnapping twice. Again, she engaged in kidnapping on June 18, 2020. 2001, and she engaged in kidnapping in 2020. That's the entity that's gang stalking. Let's go inside because these gang stalking immigrants are monitoring with the Ontario Police, and so is 7-Eleven. This is the same one of the demons that are hostile to the deportation policy, and that's exactly why they are being deported. 9PYH590. P.O.C. Hello. Hi, how much for ice?
For ice?
Ice. In my own cup?
You have your cup?
Yeah.
$1.
$1? Okay, thank you.
Why you make my video? Excuse me. Hello?
Yes.
Why you make my video?
Why make what?
Why you make my video?
Your what?
You make my video. Why?
What are you talking about? How much is ice?
You make my video. Why?
What is your video?
Yeah, you open your phone.
You're searching my phone now?
Yeah,
You're searching my phone?
make my phone.
Did the Ontario Police tell you you can search my phone?
So why you make my video?
What are you talking about?
You make my video.
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? I
Your
just asked you
camera
about.
is only my face.
I'm
Why?
camera?
Yeah.
What camera?
Your camera. I look
What
right.
camera? The camera back here?
You go outside.
Is that what this was?
You go outside. You don't allow here.
Why?
Why? So why you make my video?
What are you talking about?
You have permission. You make my video.
What are you talking about? Are you psychic? Do you know what
You
I'm
open
doing on
your
my phone?
I look with my eyes.
You
make
looked through my
video,
phone?
Yeah.
Where was
And
I
you-
looking at? Google Maps?
And you recorded my voice already.
How do you know
Can
what
you
I'm
show?
doing on my phone? What are you talking about? Do I also know your name? What's your name?
What do you mean? You ask my name and
You seem
make
pretty
my video.
perturbed. You know what I'm doing on my phone? That's very interesting.
Actually, you come that side.
Oh, no problem. Be careful. He probably
Right
knows
now,
what you're doing on your phone. He knows what you're doing on your phone. 8SUA142. Okay, bye. You know you're being deported as well.
You
Okay,
go
bye.
outside.
You're getting deported. License 8SUA142. The
my
entity that's
license
engaged, the entity that's engaged in gang stalking with the Ontario Police. That's good. He's going to be prosecuted. This is the entity that's gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. This is the criminal activity that they incentivize. They came in the parking lot monitoring with him, and he's looking at the backside of my phone, by the way. So this is why I asked him questions I already know the answer to. You're listening to psychopaths, you're listening to demons that are monitoring with the Ontario Police who engaged in stalking together, okay? So I go inside, ask about a cup of ice, and the entity being in possession of my phone. You're aware of what I'm doing on my phone. What is it that you're talking about? I'm talking about a cup of ice. You're talking about you speak like you're broken English, like I don't understand. Do you not understand? I'm talking about a cup of ice. This is all relevant to the entity that knows what you're doing on your phone because they're monitoring them. And that's relevant to the entity stalking an impossible light activity. Exhibit A. 2 shadows. So I will show you what is the light activity pursuant to the immigrants in California, that are monitoring American citizens. They're engaged in domestic terrorism of American citizens, just like I'm documenting at 731 South Euclid Avenue. That's amplified audible activity while 2 of my shadows are in front of myself. That is 4 legs, that is 2 bodies, 2 torsos, and there's only 1 of me, all right? And there's also the absence of anything that would create that. I'll show you the picture of the 1 lamp that's above the street lamp that's not going to create those multiple shadows. This is where you're recognizing knowledge regarding what I'm doing on my device. And this demon that clearly hasn't been gang stalking long enough is not very well trained on how they're supposed to maintain that ignorance, passive-aggressive stalking. 8TBG183, gang stalking with him, is engaging in what is not only is he already upset about what he's assuming that I'm doing on my phone, he is engaged in what is a harassment, by the way, when you're analyzing gang stalking. He's engaged in harassment in doing so, but he's not only making an assumption, he's not only asking a question also, but it wasn't a question, it was an assumption. Why are you making me video? I knew exactly what he was stating. But my point is, why are you assuming what it is that I'm doing on my phone? This is the entity that is gang stalking. My shadow is upright, 2 of them on the tree in front of me. This is, again, not going to be caused by the street lamp over me. That amplified volume that you heard, that's not traffic. Those are demons that are monitoring. And the entity that includes in California with the Ontario Police, who I just documented, that entity is engaged in criminal activity on the part of Mike LORENZ, who is engaged in what is monitoring my vagina. He's a sex offender, a domestic terrorist, and a violent sex offender. And he is sending out these lower level demons, these puppets of Satan, who are being exposed for a satanic means of surveillance. And it's also criminal surveillance where the police is engaging in what is not law enforcement, but gang stalking you. all right? Stalking you as a population, as a public entity, in other words, with the people of the state. And context is that they're all demons. All right, and they engage in demonic behaviors, and they're present in a demonic environment. While I'm showing you what is actually the creation of a whole illusion of reality, the environment, and the behavior of those in that environment, which is all accomplishing surveillance, monitoring, knowing literally everything that you're doing. And this is what this entity is admitting with regard to this demon that's not only making an assumption, but he is emotionally reacting to his assumption about what I'm doing on my phone. And that is entirely abnormal. The entity is engaged in this same conduct, being in custody of their phone, studying their devices even, and the entity is not subject to my assuming anything about them, because I already know that they're monitoring, but I do not give that sort of reaction. I don't ask them anything about what they're doing about their phone. And normal behavior is that you're not going to exhibit that sort of paranoia, because everybody has a phone, everybody's engaged in centering around their communication device, which, by the way, is the basis of how California is engaging in monitoring, and life is literally centered around technology, the use of it, the requirement of it. That's because the entity is monitoring. It's been designed that way. License 8N LJ926 06803. That's a California plate. The entity is gang stalking, and this demon is inside, and he is, again, a gang stalking immigrant, and all of them in California are engaging in terrorism. That's harassment, and it's harassment because he's harassing with the Ontario Police Department. Gang stalking immigrants are subject to federal prison. Deportation is not going to be a way out of federal prison. You're going to prison, and then you're going to be shipped out of here, because that's the statement by the federal government. You're going to pay the price, and then you're being kicked out of the country. All right? And the entity's engaging in this with the gang stalking immigrants. That's the demons that are gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. Demons that are stalking with light, just like the demon-possessed people of the state. Not different. That's what I'm letting you know. Those demons are just wearing Ontario Police Department uniforms, which I'm stripping them of. They're not wearing those uniforms anymore. They're not going to confuse law enforcement with what is stalking and practicing Satanism. Because that's what they're doing, and that's not law enforcement. It's surveillance. It's stalking. It's a mental illness that's closeted behind a police uniform, behind a police department name, an agency that is given what is, first of all, unfettered discretion that also needs to change in light of surveillance in the United States. But also, you have what is the legitimacy, the assumption, the presumption of legitimacy, which, again, to a degree is necessary in a orderly society, but this is not an orderly society. This is lawlessness that is supposed to be contained, lawlessness that is presenting as everyday life. Literally, what this demon stated, that was a series of admissions inside a 7-Eleven. And that's why I punctuated it with "you're being deported," because everything that I'm stating, remember, everything that I'm saying, I'm not asking any question that I don't already know the answer to. I'm not stating anything that I'm genuinely confused about. I'm not entertaining any audible activity toward me. They're always monitoring. Always. It's always monitoring. Don't ever forget that. It's all criminal activity that I'm subject to. And everything that I entertain, that I respond to, is relevant to you listening while I am documenting in order to prosecute, including while this demon was making a series of admissions about what he is not having any facts knowledgeable about what I'm doing on my device. You don't know that. So while you're admitting it, the entity is engaging in what is license 9MIH980, stalking. The entity is engaging in what is doing so with the Ontario Police. That's how he knows what I'm doing on my device. Okay? And the Ontario Police stalking, that it does look like the entity that I stated, S-Patty, all of the demons, they all listened to, and they were very fearful. When the entity's scared, those demons do what it is that they're documenting, which is very stupid. They're fools, I'm telling you. Their demise, their disbanding, their public exposure, their worldwide, their nationwide demise is something that is overdue. It's like beyond overdue. You can see that they're totally unprepared for it, and they don't know what to do other than ongoing. The stupidest thing that you could ever do is engage in more interactions on camera with what is, I am the prosecutor. I am the one that's blowing the whistle, if you will, so that every other American citizen knows how to do it, knows what their rights are, and you will not be stopping that ongoing justice, the wheels of the justice system. This is what the entity is designed, the system is designed to stop, though. No, it's not happening. And you're witnessing all the ways in which the entity intends to do that, has been programmed to do that. Okay? So I'm going to read some license plates because they're stalking with the Ontario Police. I'm at Euclid and Ralston, where they're not in private property. They're all monitoring. License 6BJP232. The Ontario Police, a bunch of creepers that I just documented, stalking at 711 at 731 South Euclid Avenue. And then you have the people of the state admitting to monitoring my device. That's the only way that you know what I'm doing on my phone. Okay, license 9BUR023. In relevant context is that I'm being molested with impossible light. And it's terrorism while my shadow is in front of me, two of them in front. That's terrorism. That's a terrorizing environment. It's frightening. It's weird. It's creepy. It's demonic while people are stalking me and telling me about what I'm doing on my phone and then being hostile and indignant while harassing me on an unfounded basis. License plate 6705X2, stalking with the Ontario Police on Ralston and Euclid Avenue. All right, this is P.O.C. and it's currently 9:28 p.m. Yeah, 9:28 p.m. All right, the people of the state are stalking on the roads and the highways and at their venues. These are not. None of this is private property. U.S. Navy veteran. This is a demon-possessed gang stalker with license plate 8MVW174. These demons are out here engaging in surveillance, and so is this person that's a part of the U.S. Navy or associated with somebody with the U.S. Navy that's been engaged in surveillance for decades. By the way, 8L91585. License plate 9BUR023. Stalking in the middle of the street while the entity is crossing path by a helicopter. And the entity was crossing path by stalking, molesting me with light. Those are demons that get out their hostility. Okay? That these demons are gratified when they aim light. This is mental illness that those two demons of the Ontario Police exhibited. That's federal prison. The entity engages in it all the time. I'm documenting them all the time like nothing's going to happen. They're going into a federal cell. They're going to lock them up. You're going to prison and you're not getting out. License HAVANA P.O.C. Stalking with the possible light, driving down the street. Doing so with the Ontario Police Department while I'm documenting the people. License 9KUB235 P.O.C. P.O.C. It's I'm gonna get the street that I'm on right now. Stalking on the opposite side. That's not traffic. That just so happens to be on the opposite side of the same street. Driving in what would be the direction south. That's stalking in the path with light on the same street, Ralston. All right. That's the entity that's engaging in surveillance. Stalking with light. The entity does this during the day while the fake sun remains over my head, and it stands out when that fake sun remains over my head at one location, such as Starbucks at 111 North Vineyard Avenue. That's where it really stands out. Okay? And that's why I do that, so you're understanding what is the significance of stalking with light. How do you know that everybody is stalking you? That's how you know. In addition to that, the behavior of that entity. The entity that targets you through corrupt law enforcement. That adjective is added because no legitimate law enforcement agency is gang stalking. You are already corrupt. That meaning that conclusion is already included in that statement, that description. They are corrupt, engaging in what is harassment. All right, the entity's not the entity's not asking you questions that they don't know the answer to. The entity's not encountering you with regard to just on their day, on their patrol, on their beat while they're stalking. They're stalking under a fake sun. The entity that engages in stalking by police departments, stalking while they're bearing weapons, stalking in police vehicles, molesting with light while they're monitoring with the population of people who are all conspiring murder together while they're doing so as though you're going to just disregard the fact that the federal government is watching. That's a threat to your life. That everybody's going to this is a reasonable fear of the target individual. So what are you going to do? Just murder me right now in front of everybody, regardless of the consequences, regardless of the evidence? That's what the entity behaves as. You're going to prosecute for that. And gang stalker police, like the two I just documented, they're going to federal prison. All right? And it looked like S. Patty. That's what it looked like. I know that demon is listening to me. She knows I documented her. I referred to her many times today. And I told her to her face. I told that lily white demon she's going to prison, and she is. So she listened today, and those demons engage in that. As I refer to them, they will come around and engage in the P.O.C. in my face. They do that. Pay attention to the evidence. They do it all the time. All right? The entity, that's what the Ontario Police do with helicopter. As I refer to them, what do? They fly over my head by helicopter. All right? As I refer to the people that say, as I document, they start gang stalking by helicopter or crossing path of vehicles because I'm documenting the people of the state. This is the entity's pattern of conduct, and it's laid out. While I point it out to you, you can sit there and listen to and watch it yourself. It's the pattern of the entity that's engaging in surveillance. License 7RPT950. And gang stalking the people of the state. Let's get this address. Are you kidding me? The entity was flying over the 10 freeway at Vineyard and G Street today. They were flying toward the airport like they're taking off and gonna I mean, by flying toward the airport, I don't mean like landing at the airport. I don't mean flying toward the airport like they're going to land. Look at the video. Look at the images. They were flying toward the airport in a position where they were taking off of Vineyard Avenue, where the Sheraton and where the EVERHOME Suites is located, at 1841 East G Street is where I was located, where the entity was engaging in a location that is west of the airport, as though they're taking off at the 10 freeway and then hovering over the airport, flying over the airport. That's the entity that's stalking right now, okay? It is currently 9:33 p.m. License 8 LAG 268. They're molesting with impossible light while the Ontario International Airport flies over the venue of the people of the state. 49505R2. P.O.C. These are all sex offenders. 6YEF 396. These are all sex offenders aiming light. It's not traffic. You know that because the fake sun sits over me during the day. Surveillance is underway at night. Your light doesn't cause two shadows in front of you on the ground. All right? 6BSR 537. These are sex offenders while they're aiming. Oh, I want to touch. I want to touch. I got to touch. She's coming. Here we go. Let's touch. That's a sex offender's mind state. 94111E3. And the entity is doing so pursuant to what is knowledge of documentation. The entity that is engaged in obsessively monitoring will go ahead and engage in admitting that the people of the state are monitoring by stalking with commercial planes. License plate 7HZD240 at what is this address right here. The people of the state are gang stalking by flying over that facilitated venue. This is located at 1223 South Euclid Avenue. License, hold on, 1223 South Euclid Avenue. I'm looking for the address. Yeah, that looks like 1223 or 223. Hold on one second. Yeah, that looks like 1223 South Euclid Avenue. Or 223 South Euclid Avenue. I'm at the intersection of Euclid, where the entity just flew over that house. And like I said, there's certainly no airport that you're landing at while you're taking off west of it. I mean, it's on the opposite side of Vineyard. That's what the entity was doing. The Alan D. WAPNER is clearly stalking. Mike LORENZ is clearly stalking. Michael GERKEN is clearly stalking, by the way. This is the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct as I am walking down the street. And that's the entity that is, again, stalking by the Ontario Police at the 731 South Euclid Avenue address. Yeah, that address is 1223 South Euclid Avenue. And the people of the state are gang stalking with the Ontario International Airport, who was always exposing the people of the state that are engaging in surveillance right along with them in that environment, okay? In the environment of engineered light, surrounding with light, crossing paths, stalking together at 1227. This is the address of the people of the state, license 7ZNT579, molesting with impossible light while they are gang stalking with that demon that lives in what is a facilitated venue, not a private space, not a private property. They're all engaged in surveillance in California, and none of them have any shelter either. License 04419J3, a shelter from prosecution. From being exposed as engaging in surveillance with the government, from conspiring the murder of American citizens through the convenience of gang stalking where they live. This sex offender's license plate, 2SZX475. That's 2SZX475. And 1227 is located at what is South Euclid Avenue. That's where the entity just flew over the people of the state's venue over my head while I'm at that venue, okay? And these license plates are associated with this location right here, 74851K1. And it is always not that which is not published on the website, that is not exposing the fact that they are stalking with commercial planes and not engaged in what is ordinary flights toward a destination. They're engaging in what I'm showing you, stalking while a fake sun remains over me, engaging in donuts, repeatedly pacing, taking off wherever it is that I'm located. And hovering throughout the city in order to be at where I'm located. That has nothing to do with an arrival from a destination pursuant to a ongoing ceaseless flight. The entity is engaging in what is stalking using commercial planes and doing so with the people of the state whose properties they're flying over. That's just like Starbucks. I'm going to prosecute Starbucks while the people of the state are gang stalking in the sky space, keeping me under surveillance. And Starbucks has no warrant or probable cause that they can provide to the government to gang stalk me with Starbucks. License 9CQS 938. in the same way that the government has no warrant or probable cause to gang stalk me via Starbucks, by being in Starbucks, because that's what the specific environment proves. And by the way, none of this evidence is going to be disregarded in a federal court. Also, newsworthy, there is no defaming an American citizen that documents this psychopathic pattern of conduct that is exhibiting the mental illness on behalf of the stalker, the actual stalker, the entity, the public entity, the government, that's, by the way, infested with demons, worse than cockroaches. All right? That's P.O.C, however. The entity is engaging in that and doing so pursuant to what you know was also stalking. Moments ago at 731 South Euclid Avenue, a white male and a white female in 2 Ontario Police Department vehicles stalking in the path with the gang stalking immigrants, making a statement. They're being deported. That's your statement. The federal response is deportation. And federal response is federal prison for gang stalkers that target with gang stalking sex offenders and police officers. Because that's what they are. That's an oxymoron. That has to be dealt with federal prison. You're going to squash that. There shall be no gang stalking police officers. And if you find them, they're getting locked up. They're getting locked up. Okay? Because that is terrorism. That's exactly how this system is perpetuated. That's how it exists. They rely on gang stalking, corrupt terrorist agencies to masquerade as law enforcement agencies while they're engaging in what is kidnapping people, setting people up for crimes that they didn't even commit, doing so with the people of the state who they rely on to bear false witness, make up information, target the people of the state together. Target as the people of the state together, a targeted individual. They do that together. So you're going to get at, well, who was the focal point? How is that? What's the crux of that system? Federal prison for gang stalking police officers. That oxymoron is going to be dealt with and chopped down with regard to federal prison. Federal prison. And federal prison is also necessary because you have this this ridiculous false sense of self and ego, and no, you're not above the law. You're not even a formidable. You're sitting around stalking and monitoring my vagina. It doesn't get any more pathetic than that. And your badge and your helicopter is showing how scared you are of the truth coming out about you. It's pathetic. That's not a show of force. That's not a show of, and by force I mean some sort of show of strength. That's not a show of strength. You're pathetic. You're stalking. I'm 5'5", 125 pounds. Okay, my weapon is my speech, my communication. What are you so scared of to use a whole helicopter? This is how you know that they're demons as well, though. Okay, license 7RGB249 or 7RGB249. That's correct. At 1361 South Euclid Avenue. I'm crossing path at 9:40 p.m. And that is crossing path while they're in the homes and I'm walking on the sidewalk. The elements of monitoring are underway. And the entity that's stalking by police and helicopter lets you know that they're engaging in surveillance where they live. During the day, all you need to see is the fake sun remaining, moving right all over their homes when I'm being kept under surveillance. And even when somebody's not home, that's not changing. That doesn't alleviate a prosecution for a facilitating venue, not a private space. When you've shown that they're not private individuals, it's not private property, when it is a facilitating venue and surveillance is underway everywhere, everybody is vulnerable for that prosecution and no one is getting out of it. And kidnapping, when you break that sort of foundation regarding evidence, is proof that it's the truth. That's why they engaged in kidnapping so much. But then it turns out that kidnapping makes it worse. Now you're not just getting a federal case. It's already bad enough to be prosecuted as terrorism, in the United States. Now you're going to federal prison. You're going to federal prison where terrorists go. All right, you're going to be treated as the threat to national security that you are. You've just escalated your own, and this is the entity that refused to stop when they were warned years ago. Oh, so you think that kidnapping is going to stop it? You think there's a statute of limitations? They forgot that you kidnapped me, Jason Knight, and the Lester Keys. Nobody forgot. Nobody forgot what the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department did on that night in January in 2020. Nobody forgot that you were begging me to sign a ticket, a fix-it ticket, and then tell me you're going to take me back to where you kidnapped me from. And I know my rights. I'm not going to sign anything. You engaged in kidnapping. You see that crime all the way through because you're going to prison for it. You're going to federal prison for it. The entity engages in this pattern of conduct and is doing so with demons that are psychopaths stalking in the middle of the night with light. This is surrounding in the environment, and this is mental illness, license 7ESP791. This is a predator. These are demons that are sitting in the dark, aiming light, engaging in the P.O.C. And this is what a police department is engaging in the parking lot of 7-Eleven. They're doing the exact same thing, mental illness. Okay? This is surveillance also. This is what you're looking at. It is mental illness, but this is surveillance. They're stalking. All right? And they're doing so at what is Euclid Avenue, I'm gonna get the intersection right now because the people of the state are gang stalking. So let me give you the rest of the license plates. 6HTE846, 7XYH318. They're all stalking. License. 8YEU987, 9CZB295. What the entity is doing, it tells on everybody else. Meaning, while the fake sun is over me, everybody's gang stalking. Everybody. License plate. 8EQB902. License CHG5475. That's Washington. Sitting around aiming light, threatening my safety. 6GOH743. Threatening my well-being, threatening my liberty because they engage in criminal summoning with the gang stalking psychopaths stalking as a police department. All right, psychologically torturing you while they're stalking with light, while they're sex offenders because they desperately want to touch your body. Those are the people of the state that are stalking. That's mental illness, and it's also your ability to identify surveillance. It's all happening in a specific environment. And you are looking at it on the surfaces every day. Oh, they just so happen to be loading and unloading groceries in their car. They just so happen to be engaging in a traffic stop across the street from your home. They just so happen to be entering and exiting the parking lot as you are present. No, it's all surveillance in a specific environment. These are not strangers. This is a massive system of surveillance. Okay? It's 9:43 p.m. This is P.O.C.